Well, welcome to another Thursday night bar review with my friend and yours, Mr. Ian Runkle, who's Canadian, I'm told.
But I'm told you forgive me for it.
I do forgive you for it. You know, we can't all be perfect. Some of us are flawed. Some of us are Canadian. Some of us are American. We'll make do with what we can. But at least our border has been relatively peaceful for quite a long time. So we got that going for us. Yeah, not many invasions from the north, I think, today. Okay, so we are here with Uncivil Law with your Thursday news roundup and just attending to all the fun and frivolities that we have and just seeing what's going on in the world. I had a great workout today. I tried to go every other day. I went today. It was fantastic. I did some wood chopping. So you do the with the cable and you put it in an upward position with both your hands, and then you pull it across your body down to low. So you do you do your core twist. Very good. It's good for the abs. How was your day?
Just boring work. Yeah, that's about it. Just boring annoyance. The general paperwork of law. Yay!
Yes.
I've got to get this camera fixed because it is not getting good resolution here.
No. And hopefully you're enjoying some cocktail of your own. I have what's left of apple cider mixed with Goldschlager, which, you know,
nice.
cinnamon flavored liqueur with apple cider. What's not to love?
I've got Warhead sour lemon soda.
Excellent. So hopefully you're doing your own bar thing over there in the great wide world. So there are many stupid things happening in this world. And on our stream, we try to cover some of them, some of the happenings that's going on. So I thought we would start with, you know, it's like just trying to figure out which stupid to start with is half the goal over here. I thought this one was pretty nice for a start. Carly Russell, who admitted to faking her own kidnapping, sentenced to a year behind bars for wasting everyone's time.
So what you're saying is that the government is actually going to kidnap her if they're
yeah, it's like, you know, we'll make a truthful woman out of you. Yeah.
It's like
I was held against my will. Well, we'll make it true. That's I like that. All your lies become true, courtesy of the government.
Well, it's it's one solution, I guess. Maybe not the most efficient one, but
the Schadenfreude is real.
Oh, well.
I can now heart super chats.
What?
I have a button to heart super chats on YouTube Studio. I can do a heart clicking thing on it. I don't know what it means, but I can do it. I just did it. Apparently I can click super chats and put a little heart on them. Jill Higgins gets $4.99 and say, excited to have a new shot to watch on Thursday night. I don't know what the little heart does. I can remove the heart, add the heart, remove the heart, add the heart. Is it doing anything on your end? The super, it might not within StreamYard. No,
I can't even see the chat within StreamYard, which is
no, because I had to cheat because I didn't set this up initially in StreamYard. So I don't know how to do it if it's possible because I scheduled this within YouTube Studio, not within StreamYard. So I don't know how to to take a pre-existing stream and stream it within StreamYard. So I had to add it as a custom stream destination. And so they don't show up in StreamYard because it doesn't know how to get the data back. So yeah, I have an ability to heart super chats, to keep track of super chats. Cool. That's a new feature. So you can mark them when you read them. Neat. That'll be helpful to Rob, who gets many, many super chats. And hopefully useful to me, who gets less super chats, but we will appreciate it. It's just on my end. It doesn't show up on your end. Okay. Well, on my end, I have a heart feature, so I can click a heart. So I guess I can mark it for me. It doesn't matter for you, but I guess it matters for me.
You'll be hearting things in your heart.
Yeah, well, please take note that I clicked the heart button and I liked your super chat.
Govern yourself
So,
accordingly.
govern yourself accordingly between me and you. Yeah, so this woman over here, it's like I faked my kidnapping, and her story was not particularly believable, involved like floating babies and UFOs and everything else. But still, wasted everyone's time.
I feel like there's a certain point where it stops being a good idea to charge people. And that's the point where it's like obvious mental illness.
I don't think she's mentally ill. She just didn't have a particularly good story.
Fair.
Carly Russell, the Alabama woman who admitted to faking her own kidnapping, has been found guilty of misdemeanor charge. She pulled a Jussie Smollett. She claimed the thing never happened. Fortunately for her, only the misdemeanors, not the felonies. But that's okay. She had pled not guilty to one count of false reporting to law enforcement and one count of falsely reporting the incident, which I'm not exactly sure what the difference is there, but okay. A judge found her guilty and sentenced her to a year in jail and pay nearly $18,000 in restitution. Give us the money back for all the work that the government did trying to figure out who your kidnappers are. The one-armed man never exists. Pay us. Yeah. This incidentally isn't really StreamYard. It's technically Melon's streaming app, which is now known as Streamlabs, just to make everything really confusing. But I just used to StreamYard for shorthand, so whatever. Anyways, pressing because it's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper than StreamYard. StreamYard charges something like $40 a month to stream in 1080. It's ridiculous how much StreamYard is. And they don't do any good job balancing your audio anyway. It sucks. If you only want to stream in 720, it's like $20. But if you want to stream in 1080 on StreamYard, you got to pay for their pro package. It's $40 a month. It's outrageous. Melon charges something like $18 a month for their pro package, which includes 1080. And right now I'm not paying them anything. And I still get 4 hours for free of streaming. So, yeah. Anyways, this is decidedly not sponsored. Both StreamYard and Melon, you need to fix your damn audio so that the audio sounds the same to me as it does to my listeners. That's all I really want. That's all I really want. How hard can it be? Both StreamYard and Streamlabs /Melon / whatever you're calling yourselves now. Okay. How hard is it to make the audio sound the same to me and to Ian, for that matter, as it sounds to literally everyone else? Because that's the thing. Like, people are always like in StreamYard, like the audio's not balanced, but it sounds right to us. We can't hear it. It always sounds right to us. So now we have to adjust based on things we can't even hear. It's annoying. Why can't they fix it? They already obviously fix it in the back end so it sounds right to us. Why don't they just broadcast that? And that would sound right to everybody, or at least sound the same. How hard is this? Apparently very hard.
Very hard.
Anyways, apparently Julia, and I did remember this, or someone had previously told me, StreamYard automatically stars super chats because they asked Emily D. Baker what would make her life easier. And not only do the show member chaps and gift, but auto star them. Yeah, I remember that. Emily D. Baker yelled at StreamYards long enough until they gave her what she wanted.
Which is actually a really good feature.
Yes, it's a really good feature, and apparently they listened to her, which is nice. Who knew? Let it actually take creators into consideration. I guess if you're Emily D. Baker, you can move mountains. But what else is new?
I was going to say, we knew that already.
Russell's attorney told CNN affiliate that his client asked for a verdict so they could appeal the case in an effort to avoid jail time. Good luck. I'm not imagining that you're going to be able to appeal while you're out. So you can appeal and we'll let you know at the end of it whether or not you should serve jail time, I guess. Anthony says Russell doesn't object to paying restitution, saying, I think anything is fair when it comes to restitution with expenses that were done. So we have to say that's fair. Any time you assert restitution has to be proven. The amount 17,000 hours and some hours spent, I think would be fair. Anthony said her client apologized for what he does and wants to make sure her mental state is just fine. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Russell staged the kidnapping in early July that captured the nation's attention after mysteriously disappearing after calling 911 to report a child walking along the highway. That would be the whole floating baby part of the exercise. Yes, she stopped because she saw a baby walking on the highway. This was her story. Officers arrived at the site and found her vehicle and personal items, I believe including her cell phone, which was deliberately left on the side of the road. But Russell was nowhere to be found. After 49 hours, Russell returned home and said she'd been abducted, held by a hostage, and escaped her captors. I believe, as memory served, she blamed 2 black guys.
That seems to be the popular choice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Authorities continue investigating and found that the kidnap story unraveled. Police investigating found Russell's web searches, including things like, do you have to pay for an Amber Alert? And how to take money from a register without being caught. Those are some context clues. I believe, as memory serves, she claimed that she'd been abducted by her boyfriend and went to her boyfriend's house, and the boyfriend's like, yeah, well, she came over and she wanted to stay in the room and not see anybody and whatever. And like, when they're believing the boyfriend about the whole thing, you know that your story's not credible. Like, she came over in the windowless room and she wanted it boarded up so no one could see her. I just went along with it, as one does. We're like, we believe you and not her. It's going great. The police chief said the phone's search history also included queries for bus tickets from Birmingham to Nashville with a departure date of July 13th, the date she went missing, and searches for the movie Taken, an action film in which a woman is kidnapped by human traffickers.
Now, did she think that she was going to get rescued, Taken style?
By Liam Neeson, perhaps, in person?
That would be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if that was part of her plan, but that presupposes there is a plan, which is presupposing a lot.
I mean, there was clearly planning.
There was planning. Maybe didn't see that all the way all the way through.
I mean, there's a difference between a plan and a good plan. She had one of those.
I'm going to claim I saw a bird baby on the side of the highway. Okay. I mean, you know, I guess, I suppose. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we have in the queue. We have many things in the queue. All stories full of so much stupid. Thanks to my mods behind the scene, including in no small part Sandy and Tony and also Rose, who helped to cobble together many of these stories because they love me. Also, while I'm on the subject, I wanted to take a moment just to say I was sorry for like the last time I was streaming the daily news roundup. I think it was like Tuesday, or it might have been a week ago Tuesday at this point. But I was really sorry because, you know, I was really short with people, and that sometimes happens because depression is a bitch. And sometimes when depression gets to you and you're already sort of like emotionally frazzled, sometimes your emotional reserves get depleted faster. That isn't necessarily to excuse it. That's just to try to provide some context for things I go through with my life. It's still my fault. I'm still responsible, but I was sorry that it happened. So I apologize. Let's see what else is going on today. Let's see. We can mark that story as archived. Senator Bob Menendez facing new charges, this time accusing him of working for a foreign government. You know, it's like how many people are doing the foreign government thing? It seems like it's everybody. It's Joe Biden's kids. It's everyone's working for the foreign government.
How do I get one of those foreign government jobs, and do they pay well?
It helps a lot if it helps a lot if you're the son of a congressman or something. That would help a lot. Apparently, Senator Steve Scalise has withdrawn from the House race, so I guess the speaker will be Jim Jordan. I guess, since he's the only man left standing. So fine.
Does some congressman want to adopt me? I could use a working for a foreign government job. I imagine they pay well.
Kestrel 42 also helped today. I'm sorry, Kestrel. I didn't mean to exclude you. I'm sorry, Kestrel. Thank you very much for your help in putting together stories and everything else that all the mods do behind the scenes. I apologize. We love you. Thank you, Kestrel, for helping. We appreciate all the help behind the scenes. You're all great moderators. A round of applause for Kestrel, who truly is the greatest mod. All right, Senator Bob Menendez, who has been in trouble a lot recently with the foreign governments. We found gold bricks in his house, literal bricks of gold. They were under his bed.
Maybe they just help him sleep.
He literally wants to sleep on a pile of gold. The only difference between him and Scrooge McDuck is Scrooge McDuck prefers it in coin form, while he prefers it in bar form.
I'm just saying, if somebody wanted to send me a bar of gold, I might keep it under the bed.
I will send you a bar of gold.
Me to.
I'll send you a bar of gold. It'll be one hell of a customs declaration. That should be good. Let's see if it makes it all the way to Canada.
I mean, I suppose it depends on the size of the bar of gold.
Yeah, really.
Here's Senator Bob Menendez bar.
Yeah, it'll be bar in someone's mind. In someone's mind. So Bob Menendez, we found with literal gold bars under his mattress. So it's not just the paper money stuffed in the mattress; it's gold bars under the mattress. We are facing additional charges for working for a foreign government, namely the government of Egypt. Now, this presents all kinds of problems, particularly when you're a sitting senator. The conflicts of interest are somewhat notable.
Egypt? Of all the places I thought would, get spies going, I didn't think Egypt was high on the list.
Is that because you're in denial? I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Liar.
Okay, you got me. Bob Menendez hit with new charges Thursday, accusing him of accepting bribes, which also incidentally is illegal. Also, by the way, just in case you were curious, it's illegal to bribe officials of other governments if you're a U.S. citizen. I'd have to look at the exact law. It's been a while, but there's actually a law that prohibits U.S. citizens from bribing foreign governments, which incidentally, bribery is a way of life in many foreign governments. But it's actually illegal for a U.S. citizen to bribe even a foreign government, in case you care. It's also illegal to accept the bribes. Bribes are bad.
This is also what got the corruption scandal in Canada. What was it? SMC Lavalin, because they were bribing, amongst other things, Libya. And specifically amongst the things that they were providing as bribes was the services of sex workers. And Trudeau helped make sure that they would not get a real punishment for that. So,
is it because we like the sex workers?
No, it's the opposite. It's because he doesn't care about them as people.
Oh.
He might like them better if they were in blackface. I don't know.
When you said that, it reminded me of that scandal from a decade or so back where the Secret Service got busted for paying for prostitutes for their own pleasure in South America. I think it was Brazil, as memory serves. They were Secret Service agents just spending government money on prostitutes in Brazil. I'm not sure how the Secret Service got involved in this, but they did.
Yeah. That is a hell of a thing.
Yeah. I'd ask what the Secret Service is doing in Brazil, but I don't want to know. So Bob Menendez, who's
for more dogs to kill, I don't know.
That's really more the ATF's bag with the dogs.
I mean, just any government organization. Maybe the Secret Service was feeling left out.
I mean, if I had to guess, it would be investigation for some sort of money crimes, because that's one of the things the Secret Service does. For those of you who forget the Secret Service's origins, the Secret Service was originally started to deal with counterfeiting, and that is still their mission statement. It was Lincoln who signed the act that it was actually an executive order, I think. It was Lincoln who signed the executive order giving the duty to protect the president to the Secret Service. And he signed that the day he was assassinated. So
he maybe should have signed that a few days ahead of time.
Way to fall down the job right out the gate.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So for the longest time, the Secret Service was organized within the Treasury Department because the counterfeiting, and of course these days it's under Homeland Security because everything else is. But yeah, they deal with counterfeiting, and they also deal with a lot of financial frauds just in general, because they're like the financial fraud go-to people. So if you're doing money frauds, check frauds, that kind of thing, the FBI also does a lot of that, but the Secret Service is probably primary on a lot of that stuff. So in case you care, so if I had to guess, that would be why they're investigating money stuff in Brazil. Anyways, Menendez was hit with charges for accusing him of accepting bribes and acting as a foreign agent. The new indictment alleged that he provided sensitive U.S. government information, which sounds suspiciously illegal. That sounds like a violation of the
don't do stupid shit rule.
Espionage Act.
That's one too. I like mine better.
That's espionage. When you give the secret information to a foreign government, that's espionage. So don't do the espionage is always a good tip. And it took other steps that secretly aid the government of Egypt. He faces 2 years in prison for failing to register as an agent of a foreign power. So in the United States, we have this wonderful law called the The Registered Foreign Agent Act or something like that. But basically, in long and short, it requires you, if you're acting on behalf of a foreign government, to tell the U.S. government about it. The logic being very simple. The U.S. government has a sort of profound interest in knowing whether or not it's talking with a foreign government for very obvious reasons. And so the foreign government obviously has its formal ambassadors, but the foreign government wants to hire someone on the side. The U.S. government would really like to know about that too, so they're knowing that they're dealing with a foreign government. And if you don't tell the U.S. government about it, that's bad. So it's not necessarily illegal to act on behalf of the foreign government, but the U.S. government would really, really like to know that's what you're doing, so they can, deal with you appropriately, because you are now an agent for the foreign government, and they'd really like to know that. So apparently, he was an agent for Egypt at the same time he is a U.S. senator, which seems like an obvious conflict of interest for every possible reason. In a statement Thursday, Menendez denied the allegation, as one does.
Were they paying him in gold bars?
They were allegedly paying him in gold bars, among other things, yes.
See, I never get paid in gold bars.
That is the problem. You are dealing with the wrong clients, man. You're dealing with how about a gold-plated gun? You get paid in that?
No, it's never gold-plated. I've been paid in guns. So that's something.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. The government's latest charge flies in the face of the long-standing record of standing up for human rights and democracy in Egypt and challenging leaders of that country, including the president of Egypt, on these issues, Menendez said. He totally did it.
That does seem like the kind of statement that, yeah, that is often an issue. So, yeah.
Yeah. Piling new charge upon new charge does not make the allegations true. The facts haven't changed, only a new charge. I ask people again who know me and my record, can you give me a chance to present my defense and show my innocence? He totally did it.
I mean, there's a chance that he didn't.
He did it. Menendez and his wife pled not guilty to corruption charges, alleging that he used influence to pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes. 3 other defendants have also pled not guilty. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, who recently went on a talk show and said they're not sending their best to DC in apparent no sense of irony, who was the first to call for Menendez to resign, said Thursday senators should hold a vote to expel him. That would be nice if they could do that. They can, you need 2/3 of the Senate to expel him. I imagine the Republicans will go for it. So you're going to need, let's see, how many are there? 54 Democrats right now. So you need 20 of them to flip. So 21 to flip so that you can get rid of him. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot, but maybe if you're really lucky. But hey, he's trying, I guess. Fetterman's call was backed by Representative Andy Kim, who announced after last month's charge that Menendez was in the running for a senator seat. Given the severity of the charges, the Senate should vote him for expulsion. So yeah, the Senate can expel him if they want by a 2/3 vote. It's up to them to make the decision. It's like impeachment, but faster because you only need the one house's consent. And yeah. In the indictment Thursday, federal prosecutors alleged Menendez's wife and Hannah worked to introduce Egyptian intelligence and military officials to Menendez for the purpose of establishing and solidifying the agreement. See, that's the thing. Again, like if you're making introductions on behalf of, if you have divided loyalties, the U.S. government would really, really like to know a lot. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, it's like countries have this sort of like fundamental right to sort of decide what other countries are on like a base level. We can just decide that you're not a country for starters if we want. And we definitely can expel your diplomats or just not deal with them. So the U.S. government would really like to know who you're working for so we can choose not to deal with you.
Now, I don't think that lack of recognition of Egypt is on the table at this point.
No, I was just saying in principle. I'm pretty sure the United States will continue recognizing Egypt as a country. It's just like, in principle, we get the ability to decide, like, are you a country? Do you get to have an embassy? Does your ambassador get to, visit? And stuff.
Yep. I mean, there's some places recognize as a country and others don't. The U.S. is quite famous for not recognizing places as a technique of diplomacy.
Sure. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of countries that the United States, well, it depends on who you ask and who you don't. But I mean, the United States, like most of the Western world, doesn't recognize Palestine. This is particularly relevant right now. So,
do they recognize North Korea?
I believe they recognize North Korea. I'd have to double check, but don't quote me on that. We don't recognize Taiwan. You always make that very clear. Taiwan's part of China. We have a one China policy. We're very, very clear on that one. And there's also some states in the Balkans region which have like a smattering of recognition. There's like some quasi states in the Eastern Europe that have like 30 or so countries recognize them, but not the United States. So. But the United States, for example, although we recognized Cuba, didn't have an embassy from Cuba for the longest time in the United States. We kicked out the whole embassy, which, we can do. And then we give back to them eventually. But yeah.
I wonder, when they kick out the embassy, do they just PNG all the diplomats at once?
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Yeah. Persona non grata, for those who don't recognize the acronym. It's like, get the hell out of our country. You got, 72 hours to leave. Or whatever the number is, you're all kicked out. Yeah.
Usually, when diplomats get declared persona non grata, it's often like you get on a plane now, and your staff will pack up your belongings because you got to go in a hurry. It's it's people always say, "What's the solution to like if you've got a diplomat who's behaving badly with diplomatic immunity?" That's usually the solution, is just bye, off you go. So
declare war on their entire country. That's one too. Or ask them to ask the foreign country to waive immunity, which occasionally happens. We get
It
really
has happened.
pissed. It
The
does
US
occasionally happen.
The US almost never does that. To the great annoyance of Britain, there was that US
Yeah, DUI case.
yeah. And they were like, waive immunity, and the US is like, no. Which is odd because that seems like exactly the time to waive immunity.
Yeah, and
But
we got, I forget, was it the UK or where they had basically the same thing in the US? There was a drunk driving case in the US, and we got some state to waive its immunity for essentially the same thing. A very sort of horrible DUI fatality. And the US won't do the same thing for UK, so.
and I mean, the whole point of diplomatic immunity is really to prevent a government from abusing diplomats by like making up crimes, as well as, you know, provide a bit of safety and so forth, and also provide protection against a lot of the like the rules that you may not understand right away.
Yeah.
Like when you get to a country, you're like, I don't know what the speed limit is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not intended to be used for like serious crimes. It's intended to be used for but yeah, I mean, so there is sort of a more modern tradition of waiving diplomatic immunity in situations where it's like this is a genuine crime.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it all goes back
driving.
to the idea. It all goes back to the idea of the ambassador, as the representative, as the direct representative of the king. And I believe the term is plenipotentiary. I'm screwing up the Latin, I'm pretty sure. But there's this where you designate the ambassador as a plenipotentiary, which means this person has the right to actually sign things in the name of the king. They have the right to sign things on behalf of the government. This obviously was more important in a time and a place when communication was less free, and you might not hear from the foreign state from your home state, for that matter. You might not hear from your home state for weeks at a time, and you might have to make a decision, and you actually had the power to literally act in the name of the government, on behalf of the government, in a way that would bind your home government.
Yeah.
So it's like the king. It's like the king themselves is present, and so you obviously can't act against the king because, well, that's an act of war, and that's how it's considered today. If you act against the diplomat, it's an act of war because you're taking a very hostile act against the head of state. Effectively, they're designated agent. So there's a little bit of history for you on diplomats. Way more information than you wanted to know.
Yeah, back in the day, it would be the diplomat had to make calls because literally, like, you'd have to mail letters. And that's also part of why diplomatic pouches get so much protection.
Yes, the unsearchable pouch. And then we do get the ability to run them through the X-ray machine, which was a whole thing for a while, on whether or not we could run them through the X-ray machine. And then they went to lead-lined diplomatic pouches to prevent that problem. So, yeah.
Well, there was the one instance where the U.S. was unsure if they... so somebody had marked an entire truck as a diplomatic pouch.
Yeah.
And the U.S. was like, we don't think that's appropriate. And finally they decided, you know what? We think we can search the truck. So they opened up the truck and found like 60 boxes, each of which was labeled as a diplomatic pouch. And they're like, okay, we're done here. Like we've been beaten.
That's pretty funny. Well, rusting nuts. Well, you got to give it to whoever packed the truck in the first place. Thinking ahead, you got to just in case they open the truck, we got to go one more step, So
yep, we want to make this maximal.
It's using your brain parts.
Yeah, it is, because if they hadn't, it might have actually been a big issue there.
Yeah. So the unsearchable diplomatic pouch, the thing that cannot be searched through customs and all the rest of it. And some of the stuff that the pouches that they bring in is like, what are you taking into what are you bringing into our country? These spy equipment that you're clearly bringing into the country.
It's almost certain that, like, yeah, spy equipment has been moved this way. People have almost certainly been moved through diplomatic pouches. Yeah, all sorts of bad stuff goes through diplomatic pouches. But
Yeah. But it's just part of the nature of diplomacy. My personal favorite was when they gave the American seal, the Russians gave the American seal to the US embassy in Russia that had the hidden microphone on it that sat
oh
in the
yes,
ambassador's office for like 30 years or something ridiculous.
and the reason why they didn't find it is that this was a construction of Mr. Theremin. And Mr.
Yes.
Theremin is also noted for one of the weirdest musical instruments. You can
Yeah,
actually
uses,
hear Theremin
uses
in the Star Trek thing.
yeah, it tends to make that like ghostly sound.
Yeah.
That's a theremin. Although some people, I did see one woman who plays it very, very beautifully, and it's like, well, okay, but yeah, they. Do you want to tell them how it works, or should I?
So basically, it is akin to a theremin, but it's only so you have to actually beam energy at this thing, and then it will vibrate with the noises in the room. So it actually has no moving parts. It has no electric parts. It has nothing other than a very clever shape and clever material. And it took them forever to figure out that this was a thing because it's not
Yeah,
even active unless they're actually beaming something at it. So you can
yeah,
go and do like a sweep and pass right by it.
yeah. No
And
batteries, no electricity, no real electronics. It's the same technology, incidentally, that's for an RFID reader. So like the RFID that's in your credit card, it works the same way, right? The RFID doesn't have a battery in it. It just has a chip and it has a wire. And if you hold it up to an RFID reader, then the RFID reader sends out a signal that causes that wire to basically vibrate. And that basically generates the power to run the chip and send the signal back. So it's the same technology that's RFID. And obviously the Russians came up with that, like, what was that, 40s or 50s? They came up with that a long time ago, and they just bugged this office with this effectively massive RFID reader held in a big gigantic seal that was right on the wall of the ambassador's office.
specifically, a scientist they kidnapped and held in a literal science prison. And somebody says, how did the bug get found? I think that one was through human intelligence, as in I think somebody like defected and was like, by the way, you should know. And it's like, oh, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think they had suspected it for a while because information was coming out. That's like the only place this information could be coming from is from this ambassador's office. So basically, I think they just kept tearing the room apart until eventually they figured it out. But it might have been human intelligence. I don't remember, but yeah.
That's just, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing for them when they figure it out because it's like, oh, by the way, this was literally a gift from the Soviets. Should have been freaking off. Like, it should have made that as top of the list. So, yeah.
Yeah, very, very classic bit of espionage there in U.S. in history. So, in the indictment, they allege that Menendez's wife and Han worked with the Egyptian intelligence. In the agreement, Hanna, with assistance from other people, provide hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for Menendez's acts and breaches of duty to benefit the government of Egypt, Hanna, and others with respect to foreign military sales and foreign military financing. The indictment accuses Menendez of acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign principal, which, yeah, for the government of Egypt. So, while additional details of the conduct on behalf of the government of Egypt are included in the following, prosecutors did not allege the senator or his wife accepted cash or gifts that weren't already included in charges issued last month. So that would be the gold bars and the cash and the rings and everything.
Here I am living an honest life and I have 0 gold bars.
I know.
It's unfair.
And that brings us to today's sponsor, Birch Gold.
Seriously?
No, it just seemed like a good time.
I would have been like, dang. What is it? I tried to get on the sponsor list for manscaping, figuring that every once in a while there is a funny time to raise that, and they declined after they heard my that my goal was just to raise it whenever it was funny and not, not all the time. And I was like, if I'm raising it all the time, then it's just I'm advertising a weird product. But if I'm raising it when it's funny, like when I was covering the silver balls thing in Edmonton, then that would be great. And they might actually get more people checking it out if it's funny in context versus just if it's, because you hear an ad more time, like a few times, you just tune it out. So yeah,
for sure. This prosecutor said the letters, which were posted on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee website and Menendez's website, includes statutes that prohibit Americans from working on behalf of the foreign government. So the idea is like you knew about it, not that it would matter either way, but still. The indictment alleged that Menendez's wife was the one who had advised Hannah that she was dating the senator, and this allegedly happened when Hannah's outreach, in part to advance Egypt's interest, began. If you had to choose a foreign government to act on behalf for, you got any choices there? Which government would you like to shill for? And which government can I shill for? Would the entire nation of Italy like to, sponsor this show? Ian has disappeared on me. Hopefully Ian will come back. Come back, Ian! Come back! Baby, come back! You're like a fool to me. There's something there about you. Baby, come back. All right. The new charges against Menendez comes week after he and his wife were accused of accepting the hundreds of thousands of dollars in return for the senator's influence to enrich some businessmen on behalf of the Egyptian government. During his time as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, in which this would be particularly notable. Welcome back, Ian.
I don't know what happened. My browser decided it wanted to do an unscheduled restart. So I guess aside from just the easy answer of whichever one pays the most gold bars, I figure you'd want to go with somebody unexpected, like, not like Russia or China, because everyone's expecting that one. Go for something like Luxembourg or, ideally somewhere non-extradition and nice to live. So, where it's like, if you got to flee there, you'd want somewhere where it's nice to live and not like, somewhere war-torn. So
the list of places that are non-extradition and nice to live at the same time is a short list.
It's pretty short. I mean, France, if you've got French citizenship. So
I think Brazil, if you're married to a Brazilian, they won't deport you.
They allow you to marry more than one person there? That's a lot of people.
They'll let you marry a Brazilian.
I'm just making a really awful joke.
So was I.
I mean, if like France offered you French citizenship, then you might that might be an idea. But yeah, I don't know. I got to figure all that out. I also got to get a security system. I'm looking into that. That's going to be
I thought you had guns.
I do have. I'm looking to get a business firearms license, and so I got to get security out the wazoo. So
you can be my dealer, Uncle. Yeah, you got a 9mm. Yeah. You hook me up. I need a hit, baby. I need a hit. Small one.
Arms dealers don't usually deal with addicts. It's so
Is that like you start about the 22, first one's free, and then you work your way up as you get more and more addicted to bigger and bigger calipers for that same level high? Is that how that works?
Sure, we'll go with that.
I need a 60 caliber musket ball, baby. It's the only thing that does it for me anymore. I want to feel alive.
I mean, I've got the blunderbuss, which is 69 caliber.
Yes, blunderbuss
Giggity.
kicks ass. Put a 70 caliber ball in a 69 caliber hole so you can squeeze the sucker out.
I don't want to blow anything up in my hands, so
Good call.
yeah. I got to, but yeah, no, I will probably get my business firearms license, so I'm gonna have to check that out, and we'll see. So, yeah.
So Menendez is very dirty, and by the way, this is not the first time he's been indicted. Yeah, he was indicted in 2015 for accepting Florida's from a Florida eye doctor, and that resulted in a mistrial. So he did it.
I will reserve a little bit of judgment, mostly so that I don't get sued for defamation.
He's a public figure. Fuck it.
Fair.
So what has been going on in your world, in your job? How's your job treating you?
Oh, pretty good. Right now, I mean, I guess it depends on which job. There's the legal job versus the YouTube job. But yeah, I might be getting permission to, or I might be getting approved for a business firearm license. And if I do that, then it'll expand the range of videos I can do. Because like one of the ones that people were asking me to do is I did one video of like the find a gun challenge. And so the basis of that challenge is essentially, hey, go to a particular store and see if you can find a gun there. And so the first one people came up with was a pet store. And I determined that you could find something that is legally a gun under Canadian law at the pet store. And that is specifically a Nerf dog ball launcher. Legally a firearm in Canadian law. Because you can get it to puncture an eyeball. Now,
you have to try pretty hard.
I just had to make some special ammunition for it. Which was basically a dog ball launcher with an arrow sticking out of it. And it worked pretty good. It worked pretty well. Whereas like the next leading candidate, the one people have been asking me to do for forever, and I know how to do it, but it needs the business firearms license, is sex shop. I already know what the winning candidate is, but it might need some small modification.
Are you opening up a combination arms business and sex shop? Because that is just too funny.
No, but
I think you definitely should. I think you should definitely open up a combination gun shop and sex shop. What should we call this combination gun shop and sex shop? This is a good opportunity for the chat to get involved. Okay, chat. We're opening up we're opening up a combination gun shop and sex shop. What should we call this business?
Chat, do not humor him.
They will humor me. It's my show. I want to be humored. Entertain me. Let's see. Shot through the heart and stuff. Okay.
All of the ideas I have are
from
terrible.
bang to bang.
These are awful ideas.
No, they're great. They're great ideas.
No,
they're great ideas.
Awful. This is tragic.
Lover or fighter? Question mark. Yes! Exclamation mark.
Uh-huh.
Over 6 inches incorporated.
Oh, I see poll for the worst ideas. They're all worst ideas. They are all terrible. Especially that one. I'm not even looking at the chat, but especially that one.
Your source for both marriage and divorce solutions.
Oh, God. No, if you need a divorce, hire a lawyer. Don't buy a gun. That is not the correct approach. Don't Corey Richards that shit.
It's funny.
Yeah, don't Corey Richards that.
Are you happy to see me? I feel like there's potential there, Laurie in chat. Are you happy to see me? Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you happy to see me?
We're not doing any say hello to my little friend.
Wanna bang is pretty good. Wanna bang is pretty good. Comes now. Nice. Tie that law theme. Combination gun shop, sex shop, law firm. Comes now, Inc. Wow. I'm loving it already. I come to you for all my needs. Oh, Master Runkle. Oh, Master Runkle Esquire.
All right, I'm out. Good night. We don't really do Esquire in Canada.
Nah.
If a Canadian lawyer tags themselves as Esquire, you know they're a douche. Like
that's not a universal thing here, but if you have a lawyer who calls themselves doctor, that's definitely an indication they're a douche.
Yeah.
I just put Esquire on my business cards. So I made some Law 2 business cards. You want to see? They just came in the mail.
Ooh.
Hold on, I'll get them.
I have some business cards for Runkle of the Bailey, and the sole reason I have them is so that I can use them as sort of a press identification. Because I've got press certification for Alberta courtrooms. So that's fun. But I don't really use them normally. Every once in a while, somebody asks me to mail them one, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but you know, is what it is. I can't complain too much about having people who are like, hey, I'm a fan. It's like, no, stop that. But yeah, no, I have some business cards myself. So I also have a hot sauce.
I went with foil, so it's nice and shiny.
Ooh. Nice.
That's the front. And then I got it on the premium paper with the curved corners for that more modern look. And then we have the back of the card.
Ooh.
And see, I put a little YouTube bar at the bottom of the business card. So it looks like a play video.
Oh, nice.
And that little QR goes to my page. A little picture of me, I could have made the logo a little bit bigger.
I was gonna say, when you scan that QR code, it just automatically deducts $5 from your account. And
that'd be good.
Super chat.
That'd be good. So I got a whole bunch of these. I got
it just goes directly to the super chat dialogue.
So I can help, and it feels really nice. It's a medium weight card, so it's nice and thick. That's what she said. And I got 500 of them. So yay. Nice.
I want to get. I thought about getting metal cards. No, I don't need that. But I do need to get my hot sauce stickers ordered.
Yeah.
I got to get those out the door. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to ship them to the States, unfortunately. At least not on this batch. So.
Speaking of Congress people with problems, turning our attention from the Senate to the House, George Santos, big fraud in his own right.
Congress people who don't have problems?
Well, not all of them are being, tried for various things, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. George Santos, who basically lied about his entire resume during the campaign, claimed to have worked for Goldman Sachs, never did. Claimed to have had other jobs, never did. Just lied about he just openly lied about his whole resume. So committed one massive fraud. His campaign treasurer has now pled guilty to a conspiracy charge. So, yeah. And he's wearing a purple suit. So he's going zoot daddy. I don't know.
That's concerning.
The ex-treasurer for the Santos campaign pled guilty Thursday to a fraud conspiracy and implicated the indicted New York Republican in a scheme to embellish his campaign finance reports with fake loans and fake donors. Yeah. So he might have committed a little light campaign finance fraud, including by faking donations from donors, using their credit cards without permission.
As one does.
As one does. It's like, why not just donate to myself? I've got the cards, So yeah. Nancy Marks, who's a close aide to Santos, entered a plea at the federal courthouse in Long Island, where she's a longtime political operative and bookkeeper for multiple candidates. How fun. Speaking to the judge, Marks briefly outlined the scam she said was intended to hoodwink Republican Party officials into throwing their support behind Santos, who at the time had lost an earlier race for Congress and was struggling to get a financial run on. To impress leaders, Santos submitted bogus campaign finance reports, falsely saying he had loaned his campaign $500,000, even though in reality, he didn't have the money and the loans didn't exist. So he's like, it's okay. My campaign is flush with cash. I've donated money to my own campaign, but he didn't. The money didn't exist.
Will they ever learn?
No.
No, they will not.
No. Speaking to the judge, reading from her prepared statement, Marks also said she provided the FEC with a fake list of people who had supposedly given large donations to the campaign. Prosecutors said the list included names of multiple members of Santos's and Mark's families. The donors, who are real people, did not give permission to use their names. So she just faked up dummy entries from people on the books of the campaign, which is illegal.
You can't lie. You can't lie
about the books. You got to tell the books. You can't lie about the books, man. The plea agreement comes with the recommendation she serve 3.5 to 4 years in prison. That's rough, man. It's a rough time. Outside the courthouse, Marks's lawyer said while his client had been formally entered into a cooperation agreement, she'd willingly testify against Santos if asked. I bet she would. Yeah. If we get a subpoena, we'll do the right thing. He said Santos had mentally seduced his client.
Wait, what?
There's manipulation involved that had to do with her family and the death of her husband, said the attorney. There were lies told. From Santos? No.
Wait, mentally seduced?
Yeah. Conned. He conned her. I guess we just got to give it a fancier term. He conned her. He took advantage of her state and conned her into doing things. How many people have you mentally seduced, except for me? Because you mentally seduced me long ago.
I'm going to go with -1 if based on your criteria, because also no.
I don't know. You're a charming man, Ian. I'm sure that you've mentally seduced many people.
I hope not.
Any such testimony could, of course, be a blow to the congressman, who for his part is facing 13 felony counts indictments, alleging he duped donors, embezzled money from his campaign, lied about financial disclosures submitted to Congress about being a millionaire, and received unemployment benefits when he wasn't eligible. Yeah, so among other things, he took the money for the COVID relief money when he wasn't eligible and he took it and spent it because he's just that great a guy.
I mean, I feel like that's a popular choice.
Yeah. An attorney for Santos attended court, as you would kind of expect, and said afterward he expected Marks was cooperating with the government, which, yeah. A congressional spokesperson for Santos declined to comment. Prosecutors did not charge Santos in the criminal complaint against Marks, but described him as a co-conspirator. So they could definitely charge him in the future. They didn't charge him as part of this indictment, which makes sense for a lot of reasons. You know, they want to keep it clean on its own terms, and also with the conviction in place, it's be like, you know, hey, how'd you like a more favorable sentencing recommendation? How would you like maybe we come to some other agreement? You know, now we have the conviction in place. This is our leverage. It's pretty good. How'd you like to serve like only a year in prison?
So,
because you're a cooperating witness.
The company I'm ordering stickers from also wants to sell me a bottle of hot sauce.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to decline.
Get the bottle of hot sauce.
It costs an extra $10.
It's always good to have more hot sauce around. You might get inspired.
I might. I mean, it's possible. But like I don't normally think of hot sauce as a product I'm looking for. So
since you're manufacturing your own these days, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm looking into like where can I get a great hot sauce, a sticker manufacturer is not top of my list.
Stickers and hot sauce, man.
Yeah, I see people saying get it, and I'll either get it or I'll either like it or mock it. I can do both. So I guess I'll get the hot sauce.
Yay! You can, if you review it on stream, you can write it off as a business expense.
I can write off the stickers as a business expense in general. So I'll get add 20 or more custom stickers for a bottle of mule sauce. All right,
because it kicks.
Because the company's called Sticker Mule, so
okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to order for the other label too. Because I got 2 different labels. So
is there a tribute to LawTube on your labels?
There is not.
I'm feeling disrespected. Personally.
Are you? Is that really something?
When you make it big, I want a little piece of I want my face on a Mount Rushmore of LawTubers on the back of your sticker. So people ask, who are these people? When it goes into every shop in the nation.
It will not be going into every shop in the nation. I can tell you that. Mostly because I don't have enough bottles.
Well, that's a problem that can be solved if you get popular enough.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have that problem. But for right now, I just have it's like under 100 bottles of each type. So I guess if you want some, you're gonna want to be first in the order list because
I want bottle number 1, so someday when you make it huge, I can sell it for $10,000 on Pawn Stars.
I don't think it's gonna be worth $10,000. Also, I haven't numbered them, so
who was it who did that? Was that the Beatles who did a limited edition album, but they made lots and lots and lots of them, but they were all individually numbered just so they could have like the biggest like limited edition album ever? Was that the Beatles who did that?
I am not sure.
I think it was where the Beatles did like a limited edition, but they printed like 10 million of them, but every one of them is individually numbered.
That's an interesting life choice. Now I'm curious.
It's just funny. It's funny.
It is. So for some reason, the rectangle labels on sheets cost slightly less than the rectangle labels that are not on or that are on a roll. So
Roll is a little bit more convenient,
yeah, I'll save the
especially
money.
if it feeds into a machine. Yeah,
I don't have a machine, so I'm just gonna have to use the sheet labels. I think I will save the monies.
Yeah.
Because yeah. And then hopefully those will be available for purchase soon.
Santos has admitted to fabricating key parts about his campaign or background. But questions remain what he actually did for work. Reports have questioned the source of more than $70,000 he claimed to have loaned his campaign. So there's questions about where did he get his money from. The man is a walking indictment, man. The man is a walking indictment. Hey, now it tells me that now instead of just telling me it's someone's first super chat, YouTube told me this is someone's third super chat, which seems like incredibly specific. But thank you, Laurie Lenny, for $2.79. Ian Auction Hot Sauce for the Stollery Foundation fundraiser. And apparently this is her third super chat ever. So thank you for your third super chat. And while I'm at it, I never recognized the people who gave money earlier. DS9 gave $4.99, who gave me a dancing fish emoji, who's screaming. Thank you for the dancing fish emoji screaming. I appreciate it. Sandy also gave some gift memberships.
Why is it screaming?
I don't know the answers to these or other questions. I have no answers. Adiba Zam became an uncivilian. Laura became an uncivilian. Tasha Lynn became an uncivilian and then gifted 10 gift memberships. Baby Gator became an uncivilian for 99 cents, then gifted 10 gift memberships, and then gifted another 10 gift memberships. Sandy gifted 20 gift memberships. Steve A gifted 10 memberships. DSN $4.99 with the Screaming Fish and Laura Lenny are all the super chats thus far. Thank you very much for helping this channel, by the way. I'm experimenting with a new editor, and it's very expensive. But hopefully, it'll really pay off. We're going to find out. So because of your super chat donations, we're trying something new. So next week, we're only probably going to post 3 videos and also do a live stream. Because we've been posting like 2 a day. And so we're trying something different. So much less stuff, much higher quality. Maybe. We'll see how it goes.
Hey, okay. I'm going to be curious because if that takes off, I will be very interested to know because I keep dabbling with the idea of an editor or not or whatever. So yeah.
I'm experimenting with 2 different editors. I got one where it's more interlaced. They're both scripted. So one where it's more interlaced, me with camera and then interlaced with video. And then I'm doing one where it's just me with voiceover. So it would just be B-roll and graphics and images that are related to the story in a similar style to, there are a lot of people, a lot of like infotainment channels that kind of do that style where it's just voiceover. So inspired at least by them, I thought, hey, I could copy that for Lost. So I'm doing that to borrow that style. So we'll see what's going on. So we'll see. Christina Hill gave $4.99 and say, what number of super hat is this? I don't know. It didn't tell me. It only told me that it was someone's third super chat ever. I don't know. Maybe you've given more than that. It doesn't tell me for everyone, but I appreciate the $4.99 in any event.
And maybe chat can help me with a business decision here.
Selling sex toys.
No, that's not the business decision. That's a whole pile of liability I don't need in my life. So if I want these stickers delivered October 26th, that's free standard delivery. If I want them October 25th, then that is fast delivery, which costs $11.25. Or I can get them by October 20th, which costs $47.50. So chat, which do you think is the better business decision on this one?
I think free is the better business decision between those options.
I kind of feel that way as well because
it's certainly not worth it for a day.
I'm just like, why are they even offering like, hey, we will what do you call it? Like
Expedite?
we'll do this for
I suppose if you needed them last minute because it's a real emergency. I got emergency labeling problems. Although at that point, presumably you're talking to a local print shop, I'd imagine. But
yeah, I don't get it. I mean, but yeah, I guess maybe if you're Elon Musk and money is no object, but the time matters that much more. So, all right. Well, I guess I will put in the final label order, and then I got to be a responsible adult and figure out how to send these things.
yeah, adulting is hard. That's the
Oh,
thing.
God.
That's the thing they never quite told us, that adulting was hard.
And yeah, it's sad.
Thank you for the 237 of you who are currently watching. 196 likes too. Hey, that's not too bad at all. 62 new members, $17 in chat revenue.
Nice.
A little bit more now because we've got Laura, who it says again is their third super on the live stream. I thought the previous one was the third, but apparently this is the third. I'm not sure the count is necessarily accurate. Laura Lenny gives CA 279 saying, Ian, your sauce's demand. Auction it.
That is not a bad idea. I guess I can put up like, hey, you can get a sauce before anyone else. So not a bad idea. Will you join me for the Extra Life thing?
I will be happy to. I'll be happy to also do some gameplay or something. I've been meaning to finish Zelda anyway, so I could play some of that on stream if you like. And yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll have to get something set up. I gotta fiddle around with all my audio video because it's what do you call it? It's a pain in the butt to actually get games to properly record. So you need to have it feed the audio back in to actually to get into StreamYard. Mm-hmm. But B, you also need to not have it feedback. And and I need to be able to hear it and all of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, getting audio in the StreamYard is a problem. I just do it inside of OBS. Yeah.
That may be the solution. I may have to figure out how to make that happen, but we'll see.
And we could do Fall Guys again with chat or something. That'd be fun. Some sort of crowd game. Or we could do some Mario Kart. That'd be fun. For people who have a Nintendo Switch, that'd be cool. Do you have a Nintendo Switch?
I do not. I've got the Steam Deck.
That's cool too.
I don't know I don't think it has Mario Kart though.
It wouldn't. No, Nintendo's proprietary about that kind of thing.
Lame. Nintendo.
I know it is. It is lame. Have you heard about this thing about this blogger known as Turtle Boy? Do you know what a Turtle Boy is? Apparently, he's a blogger. He's known. He's known to some degree, and apparently, he got arrested for witness intimidation and conspiracy. Does anyone know who or what a Turtle Boy is?
I heard that he got arrested. I haven't actually. I don't know anything about who he is. So
yeah, someone sharing it on my Discord is like, and they put it in my general like it was a big deal, which maybe it is. I'm like, but what is a Turtle Boy? Is it the guy who said I like turtles? Is he all grown up now and going to jail?
I mean, that's a great way to be grown up, I guess. Pro tip: don't do that as a growing up strategy.
Cash in on that 5 seconds of child fame by committing
a felony,
committing turtle crimes. Laura Lenny, who once again gives their third super chat ever, says this doesn't count properly at all. Plus, still can't gift on your channel specifically. I love your brain, Kurt, as well as your objectivity. Thank you, Laura Lenny. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about with being able to gift on my channel on mobile. Some people say you can on iOS devices on other people's channels, but you can't gift memberships on my channel for some reason. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's because my account is set up wrong. I asked YouTube about it. They said everything was fine. So I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to fix the problem. So we will press on without the ability to gift from iOS to this channel, I suppose. We will deal without that little bit of joy in our lives. Baby Gator gets...
The solution is probably violence.
Yeah. Baby Gator gives $5 say apparently YouTube uses lawyer math when keeping track of people's super chats. Could very well be. Could very well be. And Pampered Shelly has been a member for 7 months. I need another drink. Can you talk for a minute so that I can get another drink, please?
Oh crap. I got to talk for a minute. I think I could probably talk for a minute. I've been I think yammering is within my skill set.
Thank you, Contrarian, for the 5 gift memberships. I'm gonna let Ian take over while I get another drink.
I probably need a drink after that, but I have got this stuff, which is Moonshine Madness. Somebody sent me this hot sauce, and it is, I don't know how much actual alcohol it's got in it. Vinegar, water, capsaicin, sugar, moonshine. So it's like the last ingredient, but it's a clear hot sauce. Yeah, doesn't really seem to have much in the way of alcohol in it, but yeah, it's all right as a hot sauce, a little extracty. So I'll find a use for it. I'll find a use for it. I also picked up some hot sauce at a local maker fair. And so this is Chili Reaper, which comes in little plastic bottles. I've got the LA Jerk and also the Scary Fairy, which I don't know where I put that one. The Scary Fairy is interesting because it's cherry based. This one is a sort of pretty standard but good jerk sauce. And I am actually looking forward. I got to get some chicken to put this on. Because, yeah. I'm looking forward to trying it or trying it properly. I tried it like just in terms of the taste, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I see somebody saying there's a great dark cherry hot sauce by Alchemist Hop Sauce. Oh, somebody's saying jerk sauce. It's a Caribbean, like Jamaican kind of hot sauce. So that
sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
So.
I was also in potential unnecessary expenses looking at the new Shure SM7DB just came out. The SM7B is the podcast mic like everyone uses. It's been out for 50 years. They just came out one with an internal preamp, $500.
Ooh.
It's an expensive mic, but it'll last forever. So I'm thinking about it. I probably should spend the money on a different focal length lens because some people think I'm too close to the screen. They don't like how big I am on screen. The problem there is the focal length of the lens, so I need a different focal length so I could appear further back.
I need to get a different camera. I'm not super happy with the way I look on.
Yeah, $350 for the glass, $500 for the mic. Some of the potential expenses that we have. The mic isn't bad. It's a Rode NT1A, and I've adjusted it a little bit using this app called Voice Mod, which we use for all the funny voices and stuff like that. And I have it adjusted a little bit to bring out some more bass and also pitch my voice down slightly so that it's a little bit deeper. So
I should probably play around with that just to improve things. So
TLDR, Turtle Boy is from Boston reporting on a case where police pinned a murder they committed on one of the victim's girlfriends. He's the only one reporting on it. It's bonkers. Joanne says, am I a full-time YouTuber? I am. Am I not practicing law? I am not. I have been full-time YouTube since July of last year, and it doesn't really feel like that long, but I've been enjoying the hiatus. I've been thinking about getting back into law. I recently threw out an application to try to become a law clerk for a position at a for a judge.
Like, oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought that might be fun. Nice way to get back into law, you know, and back into Texas specific law. I thought would be fun. So
And
I might throw out some application.
You'd be an excellent candidate. They'd be crazy not to take you because you are a living encyclopedia.
Yeah,
And not a lot of people, can.
I put that I was a YouTuber on my resume. I'm not sure if it's a help or not, but I put it on there.
I suspect it'll be a hindrance, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Joanne asked, "Why did I quit law?"
Question.
Joanne asked, "Why did I quit law and do full-time YouTuber?" Well,
law sucks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
As Ian will testify, because he was there watching my mental decline as it was happening, my job was a major external source on my depression. So I have depression that I deal with naturally, and there are things that aggravate that depression, like they would aggravate any sort of illness. Like, if you have, I don't know, what would be a good analogy? Like if you had a sore muscle and you were doing the same thing all the time, you'd aggravate it a lot, right? You're aggravating an injury.
Yep.
So I have been doing this job that I had been doing before I left for about 15 years. And my work was on the transactional side of patent law. And that involves the reading of patents and producing opinions as to patentability. And I've been doing that for 15 years. And the problem was that I knew everything there was to know about my job, and that had been true for quite some time. I wasn't learning anything new.
Well, and that's especially because patent law tends to really silo you, if I understand.
Yeah. Patent law tends to be very hyper specific. So I was doing very hyper specific stuff. I was doing computer database and search engines. So basically any computer related invention that does some kind of database call. So that's search engines, which are the public facing kind like Google, and also the kind you would never see because there are searches that are occurring within the computer for various things. It could be searches for cell phone strength. It could be searches for image matching. It could be searches for just basically anytime you're doing any sort of search, location searching, image matching, but any kind of search that you would do. And some of it was Google and people who want to be Google, and some of it was incredibly niche, and like you'd never know it was happening as a customer. It would never dawn on you that it was happening, because it's all behind the scenes. In any case, it just became the same. It was too much the same. It was the same thing every single day. It was work the assembly line, run the metal stamper, keep doing it over and over and over again. And there was nothing for me to learn anymore. And
that's rough.
That's rough. As it's one of the reasons that on my channel I talk about kind of everything except patent law, because I don't really like talking about patent law because I already know it. And I like talking about everything else because I don't know it as well. And I like learning as much as anything else. And fortunately, I have a lot of base knowledge, so I can understand what I'm reading in real time and explain it back, so I can teach it in real time, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I left my job because if I didn't, I was probably going to not be long for this world. How about that for an answer?
Kind of a depressing answer, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do keep yourself sane. Because and it was getting rough there. Like it was, it was pretty clear. It was like Kurt needs a change and he needs it bad. So
the YouTube channel brings in enough revenue to keep the lights on. I've had to decrease my standard of living, but I've got a roof over my head. I've got air conditioning. I have food to eat, and I can keep the basics going. I could even cut down more if I had to, right? There's still room to cut. It's amazing what you don't need when suddenly you don't have the money anymore. It's like, how do I cut $60,000 of expenses out of my life? Well, let me tell you, you don't have the money anymore. Suddenly it becomes a lot easier.
You're like, I really didn't need the gold-plated toilet paper.
Yeah. So something like that.
It's like I was just flushing money away doing that.
it's often true that your lifestyle. It's not always true. There's obviously limits, but it's often true that your lifestyle will grow to match your income. There's reasons that people, even with extremely comfortable salaries, sometimes are living paycheck to paycheck because their expenses grow to match their income. It's like, they're making $500,000 a year and they're broke because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever the situation may be. So yeah, anyways, that's a very long answer to that question. And it's helped a lot. Like, it obviously hasn't solved the problem completely. The depression is still there, although I tend not to. I don't know that I've ever gone as low as I did when I had the job. So I guess the easiest way to explain it from a practical standpoint would be like I shifted the entire curve, like to the side. So I sort of still have the same depression curve, but because I no longer have this external pressure on it, the entire curve has shifted so that my lows don't hit as low as they used to because they're no longer as low relative to the old baseline. Yeah. So that's, that's the answer to that question. And I think it's helped a lot. It's improved my attitude on stream. It isn't always perfect.
You're better able, like, every once in a while there's a troll, right? We all get trolls.
Yeah.
You sometimes would get baited. And they
I'm better about it.
Yeah, you're much better just being like, yeah, you're a troll, goodbye. So that's, it's an important life skill on that. So
yeah. And I never said I wasn't tackling it without medicine. So I'm not sure. I didn't say that that medicine wasn't part of this equation too. But medicine was not a panacea in my case.
I find it rarely is. You got to, you got to do a number of things, and to a certain extent, people with depression, part of it is just something that is in you a lot of the time. At least I find it so with me. Like, I have to battle that myself and just be like, okay, my thinking is going in bad directions. Let's turn that around. So
yeah. So it's been a year and 3 months, and it doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't. And fortunately, things have been good. I would really like the channel to keep growing so that I can continue to do things. It's one of the reasons that I'm experimenting with a new editing style next week to see if, trying something more scripted and more long form will change the revenue posture. Because it would be nice if I could bring in, increase the channel's growth. The channel's been stuck at, 123,000 subs for some time at this point.
I've been stuck too.
It'd be nice to continue growing.
Yeah, I've been stuck too.
Yeah. So that was a very long-winded explanation, but someone asked, I'm like, okay, so now I have to explain this. Not for the first time, but that's the story. And having friends like Runkle helps. He'll take my call, usually, and let me just talk and be like, I'm depressed.
I mean,
And
sometimes
he's usually pretty good. I'm just giving you a hard time. I know you have other things too.
It was funny because when I was off on a hunting trip, and the number of people who were phoning me when I was out hunting was like everybody. And it's not like, you're annoyed or anything. It's just like, I cannot take a call right now. Like, I'm sitting there, off in a forest hoping a deer's going to wander by. And I'm like, yep, I just can't answer this. Because if they hear voices, they're gone.
For sure. And it's always interesting, incidentally, while I'm just being reflective, it's always interesting to try to figure out how much to talk about my depression, because I feel conflicted, and I also feel like there's conflicting messages about talking about depression, because
100%.
people will say that people should talk about their feelings. But I feel like with depression, and it may be depression particularly, I think, for example, people, and this could just be my false perception of it, and if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, Ian. But I have this perception that people are more generally, what would you say? They're not generally bothered by you talking about your ADD in the same way me talking about my depression. Because depression is by its nature a downer. And also it sounds a lot and suspiciously like complaining. So I think people are more tolerant of you talking about ADD than they are with respect to me talking about depression. Or at least that's my perception of it.
And I mean, one of the things is that no matter what is going on in your life, there's always somebody out there who's got things worse.
That too.
And so, and they may be not pleased with you, with you being like, well, I'm depressed. And it's like, really, lawyer, you're depressed. Like, hey, I had to work at, McDonald's today or whatever. And I mean, that sucks too, but everybody's life is not perfect in various ways, and you never really know what people are battling with. But also, just there's a lot of non-sympathy, especially for guys with any sort of mental health issues.
Yeah, it's true.
Because it's like, guys, you fall into one of two categories, which is either pathetic or dangerous. And so if you're like, they either decide that you're pathetic and, that you don't deserve help, or that you're dangerous and, you should be, arrested or the like. So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's all that as I try to think about such things. Moving on to other topics. And like, it's also like the famous, there's always the famous stories like, I am Pagliacci, or right from the, like, the famous story about, or Robin Williams, right? And it's like, is it Pagliacci or Pagliacci? I can't quite remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
But like the famous guy who goes to the doctor's like, I suffer from depression. And it's like, oh, you should go see Pagliacci. He's in town. He's a fantastic act. You'll love him. And he says to the doctor, I'm Pagliacci.
Yeah.
So, because so sometimes, or like Robin Williams, like, what does he have to be depressed about? It's like, yes. Or like a lot of pop stars, or Kurt Cobain, like success and depression don't necessarily align in a really neat way.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things to be depressed about, is really what it comes down to. So,
yeah. Speaking of being depressed, Newsweek magazine, which is not a source you'd normally expect to cover such things, because they don't know, they're a pretty neutral left-leaning source, has an exclusive that Donald Trump followers have been somewhat targeted by the FBI, bringing about all the sort of paranoia of the Trump supporters to fruition. As they say, it's not really paranoia when they really are out to get you. And apparently, the concerns over right-wing fascism gotten the attentions of the FBI, who apparently is bringing this some renewed interest. So I saw this with some interesting, and again, it's Newsweek, which is not the source I'd expect to see this from, right? You'd expect this to be like Breitbart or Daily Wire or something, but it's Newsweek. And so
Although
I'm like, okay.
I suspect we're going to see a lot of looking at Palestinian supporters, and which is I mean, anytime they do this targeting, it's not fair because they're going after like four people out of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. The problem is that these organizations are full of every bit the same kind of panicky people out there everywhere. And so they see one news report of something and they're like, oh, we got to get on that, whether that's Trump supporters or Palestinians or whatever the latest thing of the day is. I feel like our intelligence agencies chase trends a little too much.
That's fair enough. Jeremy Duke gives $20. Love the show. Yeah, the Palestinian supporters out there, I have many, many thoughts. We don't necessarily have to go into them. I'll just say this and we can move back onto it. I am 100% pro-Israel on this. So that's that as far as I'm concerned. So I don't have a lot of nuance or patience for it personally, but we can move on to other things. We don't have to talk about unless you really want to, Ian.
I've got a bit more nuance, but it's not helpful. And at the end of the day, it's just my opinions. And I'm a lawyer, not a, people are like, oh, what are your thoughts on this? I'm like, my thoughts are you should probably rely on somebody who actually studies this in a deeper way than I do. Because unless there's a lawsuit of like, whoever versus whoever in Canadian courts, it's probably not my thing, right? So, yeah.
So the FBI apparently believes the threat to violence and civil disturbance around the 2024 presidential election is so great, it's apparently created a new category of people to track and counter: Donald Trump's MAGA followers. For what it's worth, I've never been a MAGA guy. I've never been like this unreservedly pro-Trump guy. I generally speaking liked Trump policies. I generally disliked Trump rhetoric. He was, at least in my view, better than the alternatives, which isn't saying very much, unfortunately. But anywho, the challenge, of course, for the FBI, which is supposed to be politically neutral, is to, actually be politically neutral, because the FBI, of course, is not supposed to weigh their hands on the scale of political. They're not supposed to have a favorite political team. So, assuming that there is something here to investigate, they need to make sure to balance that, because the FBI's position. The FBI, of course, wants to stop domestic terrorism, but also, of course, is obligated to obey the Constitution, including the right to speak freely, and also say the FBI sucks.
Yep, it's tough. I mean, they're always gonna somewhat favor whoever's in power.
Yeah.
So
the Bureau, of course, runs the risk of provoking the very thing it's trying to monitor, assuming it's a real thing, right? So it's one of those things, like the very act of trying to stop it creates it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So because the right has had concerns with the federal government I'd say particularly the IRS comes to mind, but that's neither here nor there. And also the FBI to some degree
ATF.
about politicizing ATF. Well, the ATF has always been not particularly right-wing friendly.
Well, and
or dog friendly.
Yeah, I was gonna say they really hate dogs. Join the ATF. It's yeah, I
shoot a dog.
Exactly.
Newsweek apparently has spoken over to 36 officials in a 3-month investigation to understand the domestic security landscape. Most, of course, request anonymity because they're not authorized to speak publicly, which, is true. They're not. The federal government has the ability to control who speaks for them, and these are not those people. Newsweek has also apparently revealed secret data that tracks instances and traces to get a bigger picture, which, of course, they can do, and then the FBI will ask them who their sources are, and they won't say who there is, and then we get into that fight yet again. Fun and exciting. Lying by the sea gives me a son with sunglasses on. I mean, they are the sun's glasses. So, of course.
I feel like that one's counterproductive. How can you keep the light out of your eyes when you are the light? I don't know. Maybe that's deeper than it needs to be. Or maybe it's just I am 14 and this is deep.
You don't want to see any other stars. You just want to revel in your own glory.
That feels a little narcissistic. Maybe
the sun's narcissistic.
That wouldn't surprise me. Of course, that'll be miserable if we're all stuck orbiting a star that is narcissistic.
As long as it keeps shining light on me, baby, it can feel as narcissistic as it wants. Until 1 billion years from now when it becomes so hot, or 6 billion years from now when it burns out. Keep on shining, baby. Keep on shining, you crazy diamond. In a statement to Newsweek, the FBI, for its part, said the threat posed by domestic violence extremists is persistent, evolving, and deadly. I'd ask how much threat there is from domestic violence, really.
I mean, at least some, but my take is I don't care who is doing the threatening, whoever it is, you got to respond to it. And I'm sort of concerned if it's, a situation where it's if they over focus on one thing, then they may be under focusing on others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you have this idea that every terrorist looks one particular way, then you're going to get screwed if you run into one that looks different.
Just don't do the terrorism, people. Just don't do the terrorism. It's bad. Particularly when you're killing innocent people. That's bad.
Man, crap. Kurt with the hot takes.
Yeah, maybe don't do that. The FBI says we're committed to protecting the safety and constitutional rights of all Americans, and will never open an investigation based solely, and the word solely here doing lots of lifting.
A lot of lifting, yep.
Solely on First Amendment protected activity, including a person's political beliefs or affiliations. That word solely is, yeah.
It's lifting all the things.
It's lifting all the things, yeah. President Biden apparently tweeted, Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country, which feels a little harsh.
I don't like it when politicians take these wild stances and so forth. It's don't treat us like children. We are able to deal with nuance.
Yeah.
Unless you're Kurt and it's no, I'm not going there. That's just a dick comment.
Yeah, well, Israel is a state, and I respect their right as a sovereign. Look, it's It's like they just had 1,000 of their citizens die. 9/11, we had 3,000 citizens of ours dies. Adjusted for population, I'm not even sure
That
what that would
doesn't-
be. What is Israel's
that-
population? Like 9 million?
That doesn't necessarily mean that every response is necessarily a good one. And
Yeah, but
'cause-
we conquered 2 countries and killed a whole shit ton of people because we were pissed.
yeah, and that was bad. The US did not really respond well to that.
I don't know. I felt pretty good about most of it, but you know, okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, probably made Iraq worse. Also, probably outfitted the same people who committed this. Because
Well,
I will say, I saw a lot of M4s and ACOGs out there.
that might have been less the Afghan war and more the pullout of the Afghan war.
Yeah, the like, let's leave behind all of our shit as we
Let's leave $50 billion of equipment behind. I don't see how that will possibly go wrong.
Yeah. And just about everybody at the time was like, hey, that, this is going to end badly. And sure enough, now it's ending badly. So
yeah, so
yeah.
Israel has a population of 9 million, the US has a population, what, 350 billion or so. So how much can I do math in my head real fast? So that'd be about 300 if it were 3 million. So it's about, what is that, 30,000, 40,000 people, give or take, adjusted population. So that'd be something like on the order of 30 to 40,000 Americans died. Yeah, it pissed me off.
But this is the problem that we often run into in like the legal system is that just
apparently Ben Shapiro said
off,
31,000. Yeah, so I was in the right neighborhood. I was not too bad for lawyer math on the fly. Hey, that's all right.
Like, just because we're pissed off doesn't necessarily mean we were making good decisions. And in fact, often not. And I'm not going to pretend I've got, the answers here, because this is a conflict that's been going for hundreds and hundreds of years. Mostly I feel bad for the people, like the ordinary people who have no power one way or the other and get to live with a whole bunch of shit. So that's just kind of where my sympathies are, and that's
apparently
lots of people.
Apparently I'm supposed to say teriyaki to get around the YouTube censors on this issue. Some acts of teriyaki. That's great.
Now I'm just hungry. Yeah.
The Attorney General says attacks by the teriyaki people are attacks on us all collectively, aimed at rendering the fabric of our democratic society and driving us apart. Who doesn't like teriyaki wings? Teriyaki's bananas.
I kind of want now I gotta order wings. This is all your fault.
Okay.
This is all your fault. I gotta order wings. Also, I'm out of Coke. Like the drinking kind, not the other kind. I got lots of that. I'm kidding, chat. I'm kidding. But I gotta order more of that.
He needs more fuel. That's what he means. That kind of Coke.
I need caffeine, is what it comes down to.
Though the FBI shows the number of investigations since January 6th case ended has gone down, which, duh. The director says the breach of Capitol building was not an isolated event and threats not going away. Threats apparently from the teriyaki contingent have increased in the last 2 years. Any further increases will likely correspond to potential flashpoints. Okay. Don't do teriyaki. It's a forbidden wing flavor. Get something else.
That I don't know what to make of that. I got to order cola and wings.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I could find like really super hot wings.
You have hot sauce, right?
I have hot sauce. So I might just order like uncooked wings, and then if I can find them. Unflavored or just uncooked, and then I could just stick them in the oven.
Okay.
So now I'm hungry though, and it's all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, suffer. Does the Dash Mart have chicken? They have thighs and breasts, prepackaged strips, nuggets. Dang it, no wings.
One of the things I'm going to be trying to do more on this channel is more Trump coverage, because I have had an inspired. I've decided that in the same way that Legal Bites did a lot of coverage of Johnny Depp leading up to Johnny Depp, and Colonel Kurtz did a lot of coverage of Marilyn Manson, that I should do a lot of coverage of Trump in the run-up to Trump, so that by the time we get to Trump in March, I'll be the source. I'll be the guy. This is my working premise. So I'm going to be trying to do some more Trump coverage.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah. And then hopefully I can get myself a very generous mobile data plan and park myself on the lawn of the courthouse in Georgia and live stream it. I think that'd be good.
You do need a very generous mobile plan for that.
Yeah.
My mobile bill was not what I would have liked it to be after live streaming from the courthouse steps. So just be aware.
Need a lot of data.
Yeah, they will hammer you.
So if anyone knows where I can get some unlimited fast 5G, let me know.
And that's the problem, is you can get unlimited, but they always they throttle you. So yeah, I'm happy to happy to leave you with the with that, because
yeah,
I can tell you that what do you call it? It's not my speed, and I will I'll get nothing but F you Canadian is what I'll get if I do any commentary on it. So
we're going to try to do some more coverage of that in the coming weeks as we get ramped up for that. And then we'll figure out what we're doing in terms of live streaming. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like. We could just stream from my phone, but then of course the problem is, well, even then, still data. It's a problem. You need a really generous, fast streaming plan.
I'm ordering some naked wings.
Yeah.
Because I have hot sauces and I'm hungry.
Okay. Excellent. Well, enjoy your naked wings. And if you enjoy naked things, make sure to check out Runkle's Sex Shop.
Oh, you got to stop that, because they'll kill my channel if you make that joke.
All right. So in Georgia, where of course the Trump trial apparently will be televised, which is just all the hilarity. So we're going. I still cannot believe it that they didn't try to remove it to federal court. It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, he might have lost anyway. He might well have lost anyway, but why you don't even try, I don't know. You don't really have anything to lose that I can see. That's the thing. Like, and it seems like you only have things. It seems like it's only upside. So I'm missing something radically, because like, even if somehow you knew you were going to lose, you'd still try anyway. Not for least of reasons, you got appeals and then appeal to the Supreme Court. But I digress. I still don't get it. People have tried to explain to me. It's like, oh, Trump was going to lose. The fix is in. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, even that's true, you still try. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense.
Everybody who's tried to explain this to me is like 4D chess. I'm like, this seems like checkers to me, and more like drunk strip checkers.
Yeah.
So
Like, yeah, Baby Gay says I think he wants it to be televised. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense, sort of, is from a strategy, is that Trump is somehow convinced that the trial will be seen as a massive, like, power grab against him and the Republicans, and it
he's
will just
hoping it'll
wind up
be
it'll wind up being a massive Wile E. Coyote backfire into the prosecutor's face that will trumpet him up into office. But like, dude, if that's the plan, I'm like, ah.
running a trial as a PR move is it's a risky strategy, I will say. Right? Like, and I mean, it has every potential to backfire, because they could very much say, hey, you know what? I mean, the public could decide that they don't like him.
Yeah.
It's so.
Yeah. And, you know, heaven forbid that the evidence winds up being persuasive.
Well, the last person who really thought that they would be able to use the court process as a, as a big PR move that I'm sort of, that's ready to hand, is Depp and Heard. And each of them thought that they would run things their own way for PR purposes, right? And one of them succeeded well. One of them bombed. And you never know which one's going to be you until you, until
I feel like Amber Heard could have seen that coming with a little bit more foresight and retrospectiveness, but okay.
Yeah, but if those were her strengths, then she would not have been in that situation in the first place, right? So you got to be real careful. The court system is one of those things that has every possibility of blowing up in your face, and not in the way you might like.
Hamilton says, I think Trump would have had to take the stand. He wouldn't have had to. In fact, it was quite a bit of a surprise when Meadows did, to be quite honest. Meadows took the stand for exactly the reason that, like, because everything Meadows said will be used against him in a future trial. Meadows didn't have to take the stand. And I'm not really sure taking the stand really gained him very much, to be honest. I think
sometimes your client wants you to take the stand, even though you tell them not to.
The benefit at best was marginal.
The number of clients I've had testify, notwithstanding the fact that I had a letter in my, the
CYA letter for when they accuse you of malpractice later. It's like I told you.
Yep, I specifically advised you have a right to testify, but that I don't recommend it. And you signed that you wanted to testify and exercise that right against my recommendations. So, cool. That's on you. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm also just concerned because, like, how many of Trump's former lawyers are facing discipline or criminal charges, or have fired him for not paying? There's a bunch.
Dude, being a lawyer for Donald Trump is impossible because you can't control the client. That's like I can't do my job.
That's
first
the thing.
Of all, if you're not getting the money up front as Trump's lawyer, you're a complete idiot.
If Trump
you definitely got to get the money up front. It's like, I'm going to need $10 million retainer in my account before I breathe.
If he was facing charges up in Canada, the first thing would be literally, I need, millions of dollars on retainer right now. And when this gets to half, you are required to refill it. Not zero, half. And also, if you ever, if you fire me, I keep whatever's in the retainer. And the same goes if I have to fire you for ethics reasons. Just put up a big upfront fee of hey, upfront, the fee is $2 million for taking your file. And beyond that, we'll do whatever work at whatever hourly rate. But like, I want a big upfront payment for taking your freaking file, and I will fire you at the drop of the hat if you raise an ethical issue. Like, if you come in, you're like, hey, I got this guy who's going to testify falsely. It's like, bye. You're done.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
he's an impossible to control client. He's like an Amber Heard.
Hamilton, I tend to agree with you that Trump is basically toast in the documents case in Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents case. He's like, he's on tape. He's on tape, not only confessing to every element of the crime, but also shooting every defense in the foot. Look at these classified documents. They're super classified. I could have declassified them, but I didn't. They're still classified. Yeah. Look at these documents. So I'm like, okay, you're admitting that they're classified. You're admitting that you know they're classified. You're admitting that you're showing them to someone else. You're admitting to the fact that they're not a person that's authorized to see them. You're admitting to the fact that you didn't declassify them. It's like, is there anything else you'd like to mention in this sentence? Or you just want to check every box? It's like, what am I supposed to do? I got nothing. I have nothing to work with. How am I supposed to make this work?
Yeah, it's they make it really difficult.
Still think the Florida case is going to go to Supreme Court on interlocutory and declassification? No, not because the declassification is, at least in part and significantly, an issue of fact. So I don't see how you could go to interlocutory, even in principle, because they certainly were classified. And so the issue of them being declassified, Trump would have had to do something to declassify them. And even then, I don't think it's interlocutory, because then it's an affirmative defense. It's not a I don't think it's an interlocutory available argument. So I think you're wrong. I don't think it's going to go interlocutory. I don't think it's interlocutory available. You can't just appeal interlocutory anything. You can only appeal interlocutory, basically dispositional issues, and certain statutory issues, and this is not one of them. Not for least of reasons that's a question of fact that has to be heard by a jury. I don't see how you get past that. So yeah, I seriously doubt it. These attorneys are requesting a delay in documents because there are too many documents to go through. That I believe they might get that.
Oh. And I mean, that's rough, right? When I've done files where it's like literally, here's like 6 bankers boxes, or the worst was I went to pick up disclosure, and they handed me a 6 terabyte drive, like a drive, like a, and it was one that connects via USB, and I'm like, what? And they're like, we want this back, because this was in the days when a multi-terabyte drive cost like several $100s. And they're handing me several $100s worth of electronics. And I was like, oh, F me. Because there is no way that they would, that they're going to give me that unless they have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was rough.
Yeah. Yeah, Papa 2 says they're unclassified the minute he takes them home. I don't think that's true. That doesn't really make sense to me, because the president, I imagine, transports classified documents around as he's doing his job. So, the president takes documents to wherever he happens to be that weekend. I don't think they magically become declassified just because he took them from one location to another. That doesn't make sense to me.
And the other problem they're going to have on that one, is that he's on the tape saying they weren't declassified. So
yeah, it's good declassified. It's why he needs some sort of automatic declassification. So that's what they were referring to, like some sort of automatic thing that they just classified just because the act of Trump moving them somehow makes them declassified, and I don't see that. I don't see that. And even if you did, I don't see that as an interlocutory issue. Yeah, I don't see that as an interlocutory issue. Yeah.
And
the whole declassifying procedure not applying to Trump because he's president still needs to be resolved. I think that's true. I do not think the declassifying procedure applies to Trump. I think that's true. The declassification procedure is spelled out in the executive order, but the executive order is made up by the executive, and the executive can ignore it. So the president does not need to follow the process laid out in the EO. I think that's true. That being said, the president has to do something. And so it doesn't have to be what the EO says, but he has to do a thing that manifests the declassification. It's the difference between actus reus and mens rea. Right? It's the difference between intent and action. So it can't be just a mere mental desire to declassify. He has to do something, a thing. I think anything would be okay as long as it manifests a desire to declassify. So him pointing at the documents and being like, those are declassified, I think would have worked.
I think even just him keeping his full mouth shut would have worked.
Yeah.
The problem is when he goes...
It doesn't particularly help when he is on tape saying, I could have declassified them. I didn't. I could have, but I didn't. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so they're not declassified. So you didn't do anything to change them in declassification status. That's great.
You could even make the argument that the instant he thinks mentally, I want these declassified, that they're declassified. But that doesn't work if he actively communicates that I decided not to declassify them and I don't see them as declassified now, because that tells us he didn't even have that mental thought. It's like the worst thing he could have been caught on tape saying, other than like, I am going to sleep with a toddler. Like it's terrible. And I think my food is here, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
With that great line.
No problem.
You can deal with your chat's response to that. Be right back.
No problem. Yeah, the president is the original classification authority. So nothing is classified against the president, or another way of saying that is the president has the right to review any classified material. Nothing is classified in such a way that he can't see it, because he is the classification authority. He's the original classifying authority, which is necessarily true by just like classic unilateral executive theory. Of course he is. All the classification authority is with him. So he has the authority. He has the authority to classify and declassify, but he still has to do it. Right? He still has to do a thing. And so like one way of viewing this might be, I don't know, let's suppose that you're Ian Runkle and you really want chicken wings. Right? You can order chicken wings, but you actually have to, do that, or there will be no chicken wings for you. And because Ian Runkle ordered chicken wings, now he has chicken wings for him to enjoy. So yes, he could have ordered chicken wings, and he in fact did. So that, it's the difference between the ability to do something and doing something. It's like I have freedom right now to do many things that I am not doing. I could get up and open this. I could get up and open this door. I could get up and get myself a drink. I could turn off the camera. I could go to bed. I could, strip down completely, nude or whatever. Like I could do anything. I could do anything. I have a lot of liberty. But my ability to do those things is not the same thing as doing those things. There's a manifest difference between the two. So the Trump's authority to do something is not the same thing as him doing the thing. And you're conflating the two. And that's the problem. It's like, because Trump could declassify, he did. I'm like, no, that's not true. So, yeah. So anyways, going back to this case, we're dealing with the case of Chesebro and Powell. First of all, Chesebro is just a great name, I have to say. And this will help, at
It
least
is if
in
you're into
part.
cheese.
It is if you're help to cheese, yeah.
I mean,
For
if you're not
example,
into cheese, then it might give people the wrong impression.
yeah. You better be into cheese with a name like Chesebro. He probably gets a lot of cheese-related gifts.
Wouldn't that suck if you like literally hated cheese or you were,
Yeah.
lactose intolerant or whatever? It's like, hey, cheese bro, I got you something. And it's like, ah, fuck. So,
As Ross says, someone can just declare the present improper declassified to them. Well, it's an issue, ultimately a fact as to whether or not he did. So it's a factual finding. So it's
and
up to the jury. So
I
yeah.
saw somebody in the chat was like, couldn't he just say that he was lying about it being declassified in order to boast? And I'm like,
Well, sure, but to do that, he has to take the stand in order to say that, and at which point you're on a whole new world of territory.
and also, anytime your client's defense is, listen, I was lying, it's like, were you, or are you just lying now? And they're going to tend to find that the lie was the thing that gets you out of trouble, not the thing that gets you into it, because most people lie to get themselves out of trouble. So, I mean, I suspect that a jury would find that he was not lying at the time he made the statement, but that in fact he was lying in court, which not great. The other thing to
You think
keep in
he's not
mind,
going to testify if Trump takes the stand? I don't know what I'm going to do at that point. I don't know. First of all, there's no way I'm not going to stand in line all night and just go into that stream be damned. Because there's no way I'm not going to go into the courtroom and be like, I saw Trump testify. Here's my testimony about what I saw. There's no way. I will sleep on the streets of Atlanta for that one.
I mean, you may have to. The lineup on that one is going to be insane. And I suspect you're probably going to be more days than not in an overflow courtroom.
Yeah. The judge in the Georgia case has scheduled 3 hearings in relation to the Georgia election racketeering trials, because Georgia has a very, very, very loosely written version of RICO that apparently allows them to RICO everything, I guess. 2 of the hearings maintain motions in the case against pro-Trump attorneys, Chesebro and Powell. They pled not guilty to their charges and requested a speedy trial. And jury selection is supposed to start October the 20th. We may cover some of that trial. I doubt we'll stream the whole thing, unless you guys really want to. But we might stream some of it just for a preview of what we might see from Trump. This to get ourselves a little bit of a moose-bouche flavor going on. So we might try to do some of it. The hearing, scheduled Tuesday and Wednesday, will address pending motions to dismiss. Chesebro is arguing First Amendment. Good luck. Try to dismiss the racketeering against him. Powell's also filed her own motion to dismiss. So far, previous dismissals have failed, largely in part because Georgia's RICO is apparently, I don't like it, therefore it's RICO.
Isn't that what everyone's RICO is like?
No, not as much. Not as much. Georgia is apparently particularly notorious.
I thought that was the point of RICO.
Powell and Chesebro are the first defendants that will go to trial. One other co-defendant entered a guilty plea. A trial for 16 remaining co-defendants is yet to be set, but I saw the scheduling order, and the scheduling order is suggesting, I think March was the date they were suggesting for Trump. So they're like, let's get this thing on the road.
I mean, there are all sorts of interesting possibilities as to, like, because this could still be going on when there's an election. That'd be fun.
Apparently, Luke says Chesebro's defense, the supremacy clause, 12th Amendment. I'm not sure how we're squeezing the 12th Amendment out of this, but okay. ECA, no. First Amendment, privilege, no. Yeah, none of those things. I don't think so. Privilege is going to be defeated because it's an ongoing conspiracy, and that defeats the privilege. First Amendment doesn't work. Supremacy clause doesn't work. It's not going to work in a state court. 12th Amendment. How are you squeezing a 12th Amendment case in this with the how the electoral counts is supposed to work? Yeah, I don't see that either. No, I appreciate all those things, but all those motions will be denied. I appreciate his efforts, but I doubt it very, very, very highly.
I really think you should plead the third.
Nice.
I mean, it's not going to succeed, but it'll be at least funny.
Funny is good.
For people not familiar, the third is no quartering troops in private houses.
Yep.
It doesn't come up often.
Nope.
I mean, it's a great amendment. It's actually one of the few amendments that they've really taken serious, like one of the few rights that they've really taken seriously. And like, that's beautiful. All rights should be like that. You know, where it's just like, oh, yeah, we don't have to do any litigation on this because they just do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a cynic.
Never. Josh Duggar of 19 Kids and Counting fame is going to remain in prison until 2032 for the child pizza photos. He was sentenced to 12 and a half years for the child pizza photos.
See, now I'm hungry again. Where are my wings?
I thought that you said they were delivered.
No, it looks like, so I ordered two things, and normally DoorDash combines them. In this case, they decided to deliver them separately for some reason. So
What was the first
I got
thing? You got one can of Coca-Cola?
No, I got 2 boxes of Coca-Cola.
Okay.
So
yeah.
One can would be a ridiculous order. Like, hey, we just sent a delivery driver for one thing.
Someone wants a swoop. Swoop.
That is a good swoop.
You created it.
Yes, that is why it is good.
Yeah. So Josh Duggar over here apparently has 19 kids, but he really likes the photos of the children, apparently. And he will be in prison for another 9 years.
Are they his kids or were they his siblings? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. You're right. His siblings. I apologize. You're correct. It's one of the 19 kids. I'm sorry.
It's so hard to keep. He got lucky getting 12 and a half, I got to say. One of the videos he looked for, but didn't, apparently they couldn't prove he found. But just the fact of him looking for it is notorious in the sense that they thought it was like an urban legend within like the FBI and so forth. Like the people who investigate this stuff thought it was an urban legend because they thought nobody could actually be that effed up. And as it turned out, somebody was that effed up. So
which horror show is this? Because I've read certainly my fair share of horror shows.
The video, it's like literally torture and murder and so forth. It's messed up. I have not seen it. I have heard it described, and quite literally,
so it's a child snuff film.
Correct.
Fantastic. Yeah, that sounds like something that I'd like to, never think about again.
Yep. But he was looking for it apparently. And I tell you, if I'm a sentencing judge and I hear that, it's like, all right, well, we're going to keep you in jail until there is no chance of you finding it, because we're going to keep you in custody until your eyes fall out of your head. Yeah. And then there was some guy on Twitter who posted a still from it, and people were like, why the F do you have a still from this? So, yeah, that was interesting. What's his name? Breaker of
Please,
Narratives. People were like, "Why do you have a still from this?"
please,
So,
please don't make the snuff film, and also just generally, please don't harm children
yeah, like,
or
yeah,
just people in general. Just don't abuse people.
yep. That I think is a good, good general principle. But yeah, I'm not normally the guy who calls for like the super high sentences. This one, I'm like, nah. Um,
I want to
lose the
just,
keys.
I'll just keep increasing the amount of years until the sick feeling in my stomach goes away.
It's just like, this is a guy, that is a detail that makes me think should never see daylight again. Like, however deep the deepest hole we've got is, dig it a little bit deeper before we throw him in.
Emily D.
And
Baker
then,
says it's widely known as the worst video out there. I believe it. It sounds pretty
yeah,
horrible.
it's one of those videos that they don't show to people who work in the profession of investigating these videos, because it's considered so horrible that that there just is no it's just
But they're gonna
that
have to
bad.
they're gonna have to show some jury somewhere. That's great.
He didn't actually have a copy of it, so they didn't end up having to show it to a jury. And
What kind of bleach do you get for that? Damn.
I know of trials where it's come up and where they've literally said, like, listen, can we, instead of showing this to a jury, just like describe it to the jury? Because there's certain things that are kind of messed up to do even to a jury, right? And I don't think that that's fair to do to somebody, for like, $8 a day or whatever the hell we pay juries.
Yeah, I don't even know how to deal with that under the law principles. I don't know how to deal with that under the law principles. I don't like thinking about it. Any case, his stuff was not that gruesome, so let's deal with something on the lighter side, just normal child pizza, which seems tame by comparison. So that's nice.
Yep.
The United States Court of Appeals issued its mandate October the 5th, following an August denial of his appeal. Federal jury found him 35 guilty of charges relating to receipt of the child pizza and possession of the child pizza. He was sentenced to 151 months in prison. And he currently is serving time apparently in Texas. So, welcome to Texas there, I guess. Federal authorities ran an investigation of him after Little Rock police detectives found child pizza material was being shared on computer traced to him. Investigators testified images depicting the abuse of children, including toddlers, were downloaded into a computer at a car dealership that he owned. His attorneys argued statements he made to investigators during the search should not have been allowed as trial since his attorney was present, but he wasn't under arrest. See, that was the thing. He was allowed to leave. So
and
that's
in fact,
why
they told him repeatedly that he was allowed to leave.
Yeah. So that's why those statements are coming in, because it's not custodial.
And he wasn't even arrested after he made the statement. They let him leave after he made the statement, and yeah, it's pretty awful.
Yeah, he argued like other people had access to the computer, but that all falls apart pretty fast. It's not like a very long list. Someone hacked it from the deep web, put it on there. Sure they did. Yeah, so no.
I mean, the thing is that sometimes that does happen, where there is a computer and somebody else hacks it or whatever else. But you're going to need like some forensic evidence on that, because typically people know it's on their computer, and if something got on your computer, it's typically because you put it there. And Yeah.
Robin in chat says, and I think you're right. He asked if they were looking for the pictures. Yeah, that's kind of a clue. When you're like, oh, we're looking at your computer. Are you looking for the pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a clue.
It's like, you might as well just sign a confession at that point, because that kind of comment is
So as lawyers trying to do yeoman's work is like, how about keep the statements out? And I'm like, no, lol.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, his sentence was extended by 2 months. He was placed in solitary for a time after being found with a contraband cell phone. The allegations against Duggar date to 2006, where he allegedly harmed several of his sisters. The investigation ended. I need you to hold the fort for me, please, for a minute.
All right. Well, we're with that horrible topic. Yeah, I mean, they sort of caught him the way they usually catch people on these things, which is, you know, all of this stuff is monitored. The internet is fairly tracked these days. And so this notion that there's anything where it's like, oh yeah, nobody's going to notice is like, nope. Because the companies that provide this, like provide internet access and all of this, they don't like this stuff either. And so they have systems to detect it and so forth. So, and that's a good thing. They're not, they're typically just systems that like look for particular images that are known to them. But, yeah. Yeah, I got no sympathy for that particular individual, and yeah, it's a sad thing, but sad that he exists. So we'll just have to see. And I mean, I guess the good news is that he keeps committing disciplinary issues while he's there, and might end up keep extending his sentence. It's all right. Somebody's saying, have I ever heard of Kalia? No. I hope I haven't walked into something on that.
Check 1, 2. All right, just making sure my mic still works.
Mic still functions.
All right, that's good news. All right, this is let's do a little eye bleach. What do you think for an eye bleach story?
Do you have something with like the cutest possible puppies?
Not quite, but I mean, just fun. Florida woman arrested after having her car wrapped to look like a Florida State Trooper. So that will definitely get the attention of the police. When you make your car look like a police car.
I'm surprised the person who was doing the wrapping didn't be like, you sure?
Yeah.
Because if I had a car wrapping business and somebody's like, here's what I want, I'm like, get the out.
Yeah, for sure. And those two cars do look very, very similar, I have to say. So, yeah. That's not good. A businesswoman in Florida learned the hard way on Tuesday. The state troopers really don't like it when civilians impersonate one of their own. The weird ordeal apparently started in Miami-Dade on October 10th. 2 Florida highway patrol officers reported seeing a Dodge Charger traveling in the opposite direction. The Charger looked the part. It was painted the same black and bronze scheme. It had a light bar. But officers noticed the decals on the side were wrong. They read FSO guard with a badge made to look like a police shield. Uh-oh. Yeah.
FSO guard and not like FAFO guard?
Yeah. So here's like the real one, like, state trooper. And this one just says FSO guard. Oh, and look at the license plate holder. She's got the thin blue line license plate holder. How cute.
Oh, I bet that got her out of some tickets.
Uh-huh. The police department would like to remind you it's a first-degree misdemeanor for a vehicle to be painted with the same color scheme as a police car. Yeah. The troopers quickly turned around, caught up with the car, and pulled it over. When questioned, the driver, identified as 28-year-old Ilulia Poglovic. Found out what's really going on. She just liked how the color looked.
That is BS.
When questioned, troopers say the Hollywood woman in Hollywood, Florida here, by the way, first said her vehicle already had the trooper's color scheme when she purchased it. But the trooper said they don't sell any used cars the same color scheme. She then said she had her North Miami-based security company vehicle wrapped in the colors because she had seen patrol units and fell in love with the color scheme. She had the blue and white light bar installed on her car roof. Yeah.
This is just to stop talking.
Like, and also, she apparently was driving it with a dealer plate just to add that little extra, on top of it so that she didn't have registration of the car. That's just great.
Lovely.
The car wasn't registered because it was running on dealer plates, which is not what dealer plates are for. Just, yeah.
It's a good way to lose your ability to have dealer plates.
It's an outstanding way to lose your dealer plates. Yeah, it's a standing way to lose your dealer plates. So, for those of you who might not know, in some states, when the dealer wants to take a car out for a test drive, right, the cars aren't licensed. Usually, some states your law will vary. So they just have a plate that they just put on any car they happen to be using. They're dealer plates. It's legal, but you can't use the plates, to turn a car into a car for your personal convenience. It's meant for the length of the test drive, and then you take them off the plate again. They usually, and then it's like, when they're on there permanently, that's a problem.
In some places, if you if you run the dealership, you can use dealer plates personally, but I don't know. Usually, there's an issue if you are starting to use them like criminally. That is a problem. So. Yeah.
So it's just Florida woman. Just like, I really like the color scheme.
I really like the color scheme. And then I also decided I needed no. That just makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So we can either find something else to do or something to talk about or end the stream. How are you feeling, Ian? We've been doing this for 2.5 hours.
I am a little tired, but I got to I'm not going to be able to get to sleep for a while because I got work to do. I've got what do you call it? Hot sauce labels. The proofs just came in and they're like, we don't think your text is going to be readable. Well, that's why I got a pre-test before. So I think it's going to work fine. Although if I don't, then that's going to blow the profitability of this whole project into the sewer. Labels aren't cheap. It's kind of annoying. These things are already going to be slightly more expensive hot sauces than I'd like, but it is what it is. I don't have any sort of stories to raise. There's a couple that I'm trying to investigate, but I don't have details of them now. So I'm in your hands. I'm down to hang out. I'm down to shut down. Up to you.
I don't know, chat. What are you guys thinking? Someone in chat says, what happened to the woman who tried to end her 3-year-old's life? I don't know. I'd ask which one. Unfortunately, because sadly we cover a lot of cases that are sadly of that milieu. So when I say unfortunately, you gotta kind of have to narrow that down. I'm not sure what happened to that particular woman that you're referring to. So I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of a popular choice.
Ian is a great friend, Tony. You're absolutely right. We should absolutely go check out his channel. Runkel the Ballet. He's a good friend. He's stayed at my place before. Yeah, we had fun adventures.
We did.
I took him to Fang and Feather. We met the whiskey people. He had a great time.
I actually would love to go back there at some point because they were great people. I lost their card, which is sad. But no, they're great people.
The
And
Florida
just-
woman that hired the hitman. Let me see if there's any update on the Florida woman that hired the hitman. Yeah, the woman who went to hireahitman.com, as so many of them do.
The other thing is, I just like being able to sit there and try a bunch of whiskeys. That was tasty. Now I want whiskey. Good news, everybody.
Let's see. Let's see if there's any news updates. Looks like last updates are still in July.
Court cases are slow, unfortunately, so does not surprise me.
I'm not seeing. Okay. Mom accused of seeking murder for hire 3-year-old from parody site allegedly tried to claim she left her son in the woods to be eaten by bears or drowned. So apparently there is an update. Okay. The story has somehow gotten worse. Thank you for asking. The story has somehow gone worse. Update from August. The kid is the problem. Mom accused of seeking murder for hire of 3-year-old from the parody website allegedly tried to claim she left son in the woods to be eaten by bears or drown. A second arrest has been made in the case of the mother who allegedly went to the parody website thinking she was hiring a real contract killer to murder her child. She really went to rentahitman.com thinking it was a real website to hire hitman. She really did that.
Wow.
So that's great. Jasmine Pays, who is 18, has been arrested for allegedly soliciting the murder of her 3-year-old son. She went to rent a hitman and put in a request to have her younger son murdered. The website owner, who has a very interesting history in his own right, the website was originally started as a white hat hacking service. So it's like rent a hitman. I'm the hitman. I'm going to find the flaws in your website. The business itself fell apart. And then he's like, okay, well, now I have this wonderful website. What should I do with it? So he turned it into a parody website to hire like a real hitman for murders. And then people started contacting him. And he's turned in lots of these people to the police. They keep doing it. They keep going to rentahitman.com, really filling out the form, being like, yeah, we'd really like to hire people. He keeps getting convictions from people who are this stupid. It's amazing.
And he's actually said that, what is it? That he's unable to keep up with it, and that essentially he only reports the ones that are like most stupid, because he's like, he gets so many requests and a lot of them are just kind of like, he's not really sure if they're joking or not, but like every once in a while he gets one that is like, this seems real serious, and those he reports. But he's just like, I can't keep up with reporting every single one, and so many of them might be jokes, like, so he's like, yeah, it's tough.
So that was your update. That was all from like July or June when we covered that story last time. So your update from August is Miami-Dade authorities have also arrested Gamela Sozes, who is also 18, also in connection with the same plot. A search of the first person's cell phone revealed conversations between the two teenagers in which the second person appears to have indicated that her own child was the only thing that stood between them. The kid is the problem. I hope you see that. The second person responded. All I ever wanted was to free you. I told you about the kid. You won't do anything. You do it, and I'll think about coming back, the second person said in reply to the first person. The affidavit implies the first person tried to convince the second person that they did what they wanted. So apparently the murder for hire, and it was at least in part to get back your boo, who left you because of the kid. It's like, have you considered murdering the child? I'll come back with you if you do. And apparently the answer to that was yes. I'd like to murder my child so we can get back together. Great. So apparently the woman said to the other person that she took her son to the woods and left him there to be eaten by bears or drowned by the river. The second person responded to the message asking for pictures as proof.
Wow.
So that's your update on the mom who tried to hire the murder for Plier Hot. We've now arrested the other person who they are apparently involved in a romantic relationship. And the mother tried to convince that they actually did murder the son by leaving them for bears to be eaten so that they could get back together. It's unclear how they were going to keep the kid from not turning up as they were going out dating again, but I guess they didn't think that far ahead. So here is the depiction of the woman and the man, and both the people in this photo are apparently 18 years old.
Going on 40.
These apparently are two 18-year-olds.
How many packs a day are they smoking?
So, thanks for asking, and that's your update on your murder for hire plot. We've arrested the guy now.
That is terrible.
Sounded like knock. Yeah, no, apparently they're 18. I know. Apparently they're 18. And he's also 18. They are both 18-year-olds. This is the face of two 18-year-olds. Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. Yeah. And the child, how old is the child? 3-year-old. So it's an 18-year-old with a 3-year-old. It's going just that well over here in Miami, Florida. What other cheery questions do you have to raise as we're trying to see what's going on? Did she have a stroke? Unclear if she had a stroke. I don't know about that. Couple more stories in the box. Yeah, I took a look. Let's see what's going on. Oh, Best Buy is apparently halting sales of physical media. Apparently there's a doxing truck driving around Harvard with a list of names of people who have purportedly signed the pro-terrorist statements. That's pretty hilarious. Let's take a look at Best Buy, who apparently has decided physical media is dead, which I don't really blame them, to be honest. Makes you wonder what Best Buy is left for. Their last computer parts store, I guess, since Radio Shack is dead.
I'm sorry to have abandoned you.
All right.
That was my lovely wife telling me my wings had arrived.
You're a lucky man, Runkle.
Oh, I know it because she puts up with me. So,
and you're still breathing.
She's not as lucky, but I'm lucky.
I think she does okay for herself.
I hope. But she did tax me a wing.
Fair.
And so it's good that they're, unseasoned at this point, because once they're seasoned, they'll probably be unsuitable for the vast majority of humans.
Yeah, fair enough.
That
The Best Buy story doesn't appear to be loading right now on my browser for some reason, so we don't have that story.
what is
we
the
can
Best Buy story?
Apparently, they're not going to sell physical media anymore.
Hmm.
Which makes sense. I mean, not a lot of people CD drives anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of the state of the world, unfortunately.
I have a story about Baby Shark. Baby Shark. Florida man will not face jail time for beating Baby Shark to death with a hammer on the beach. Stop. Hammer time, says Florida man. Florida man will not be getting jail time for his hammer-related frivolities on the beach. The Florida man who brutally beat a shark with a hammer in Brevard County will not do any jail time, instead facing supervised probation for 12 months. He will not be allowed to go fishing. That's very sad. And will be required to make a $250 donation to the Brevard County Zoo and take the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation shore-based shark fishing courses. So he's not allowed to go fishing, but he's required to take a shark fishing course. Okay.
That seems like an unusual.
I guess so. When he's released from probation, he has a better idea of how to do shark fishing without the hammer.
Yeah. Step 1, no hammers are involved. Step 2, still no hammers. Yeah.
He must also undergo a psychological evaluation and any follow-up treatment deemed necessary within 11 months. He was reportedly shore fishing at Bicentennial Beach Park in Indian Harbor when he caught what was believed to be a protected lemon shark and then hit the shark with a hammer. So he was fishing, maybe shark fishing, caught the shark, and then beat it to death with a hammer. Unclear why he has a hammer while he's shark fishing. I mean, what? Who thinks to themselves, I want to go shark fishing, and what I really need to have also is a hammer?
I mean,
how did those two thoughts go together?
Some people carry like a fish bunker. So, I mean, I could see using a hammer as a fish bunker.
He must also apparently pay court costs in the amount of $412.
That's cheap.
So, I know.
Court costs can often be way higher than that.
Yeah, $412 for court costs, $250 donation to the zoo, take a shark course, don't go fishing. Be good.
He got off light.
Yeah. Go forth and sin no more, my friend. Go forth and sin no more. I have a sneaking suspicion we will see another story with him at some point in the future, though. If I were a betting man. Seems reasonable.
That's probably a safe bet.
All right, we have a new link for the Best Buy story because my mods, hearing my plight, have worked behind the scenes to improve my life and yours. So congratulations to our mods, as always, who do great work in keeping this channel at least semi-sane. Best Buy is going to stop selling DVDs and Blu-ray starting next year, which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Probably not a lot of customers for that left. Not very economical for their shelf space. So, I mean, that makes total logical sense to me. Best Buy will say goodbye to DVDs, Blu-ray, and 4K HD discs for good, exiting out of physical media as soon as the end of first quarter 2024. Yeah, I mean, with streaming as popular as it is, and it's just not a surprise that it's only a surprise in so much as it's been going on this long. Wow, they were still selling DVDs and Blu-rays. Wow. So it's becoming more and more a specialty item. I wonder what movie will be the last Blu-ray ever made. That's an interesting question.
It'll be porn.
Porn's usually pretty good about being up on the technology curve.
They're on both directions. Porn leads and follows. And the reason why? There's always some people who are like out of touch Luddites who all they want is their porn. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. I got some spicy, or I added some spicy to my wings. Might have been a mistake.
Amazon will continue selling it for the short term, which Amazon makes more sense for Amazon because Amazon doesn't have to worry about the physical stores. So they just have to put them in their warehouses, and it makes a lot more sense for Amazon to sell it.
Amazon sells all sorts of weird niche shit.
Yeah.
So it being
Walmart,
weird and niche.
Walmart's going to keep selling physical media, which also makes sense because Walmart,
deals with an older
audience. Still, a lot of people who might not necessarily be using these services, so that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes sense. Still hanging on. Laserdisc was cool. I miss Laserdisc.
I do not miss Laserdisc.
It was cool, man.
Was it?
A little bit.
Those were the things that looked like CDs or DVDs, but they were the size of like
giant records, giant digital records. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
In F around and find out news, I suppose. And you better hope all these names are correct, by the way, or someone's going to be suing for defamation for sure.
Oh,
so you better hope you got these names right. I'll tell you what, for sure. Yep. A truck has been driving around Harvard campuses showing names, photos, and students who they say, at least, blamed Israel for the Hamas attacks. Now, you better really hope that all these names are right, and you better hope you have a basis in fact, because if you don't, you're going to get sued, and sued hard. You're probably going to get sued anyway, but still.
I mean, if my name was up there and I was not, 100% on like Discovery going to kill you.
Whose truck digital billboard advertising company approved this? What in-house counsel said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea? Some billboard truck company just says, yeah, I'll just do it. It's fine by me. What lawyer said this is a good idea? Truck company going to get sued.
There was no lawyer
driver going to get sued. No, probably not.
Like a lot of these companies just don't have a lawyer, right? So,
yeah. So, yeah. A truck is driving around the campus of Harvard with a digital billboard displaying names and photos of students who they say signed a letter blaming Israel for the Hamas attack. Now, incidentally, I understand the impulse because I mentioned earlier I'm pretty much 100% on the side of Israel on this one. And I consider this just terrorist attack, and I have been personally quite disgusted by the people waving Palestinian flags and saying some pretty vile things. Incidentally, on top of that, at various marches that I'm sure you've seen on the Twitter and I've seen as well, so we don't need to delve into that. So I understand the impulse to be like, let's name these people because they're horrible, horrible people and deserve everything that's coming to them. But, that being said, I'd like to make sure I'm naming the right people for every possible legal reason. So,
oh God. I mean, the effect of naming the wrong person is tremendous. They will sue you for everything you own and everything you will ever own. And especially, these are Harvard grads, right? Or like
students,
Harvard
I think.
Students.
Yeah.
And so there are people who probably can make a pretty good argument of, I expect to make big money going forward. Now, that might not be the strongest argument if they're taking like cheese appreciation or some, other useless degree. I'm not going to, name too many options, but there are degrees that earn more and degrees that earn less. But I can tell you, if I'm improperly named, I am calling the advisor right now to switch my major to whatever has the most income potential. And then I'm, going, oh, well, now I can't get a job in my field. And my field, sure, it was cheese appreciation, but now it's engineering. It's been engineering for 6 months before I sued because I can wait 6 months or, usually like 2 years. You could build up that record of I was going to, and you started sending out applications and you get those rejections and you say, oh, look, look at how this has affected me. And then you let that person work the rest of their life to support you because you have a judgment in the,
The giant video screens hung around the side of the truck displaying the words Harvard's leading anti-Semites in goth script. Nice touch. Included Ivy Leaguers' headshots and names in bold, red block letters. The nonprofit news watchdog, Accuracy in Media, whose name is appearing as a defendant in a lawsuit very soon, was showing the students involved in the 34 student groups that signed a letter. Now, it's also worthy of noting here, the groups, of course, signed the letter, not necessarily the students that are members of the group.
Which is going to be great fodder for a defamation suit.
Yeah.
Because, there could be somebody who...
Because you didn't give the names of the groups. You're giving the names of the individuals. And so, I didn't approve of that. And so it's like, if it's not the president or other board members or something, if it's just a random member of the club, it's like, I didn't
approve that. And I quit that group as soon as it came out. And now they're putting out my name. Oh man, the legalities on this. I get why you might want to do this, but the legalities on it say this is dumb.
The truck's surprise appearance around campus was the first day of a multi-day, multi-pronged campaign. So we're just increasing those damages as the amount of people get to see them.
Yep.
And now the news is reporting on it too. So that's also a nice touch. The group deployed the truck because it's incredibly important to know who the hateful anti-Semites are in our society. I agree with the sentiment. I really, really do. But please,
you've got to make sure you've got good target acquisition. Because if you don't, which it sounds like they don't.
There's a lot of people out there saying a lot of very horrible things as far as I'm concerned. Going into crowds and yelling things like gas the J words.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the children are dead. I'm happy they're dead and other completely viable things. So there's a lot of people out there saying some very, very vile things. And I think personally, they're the enemy and should be outed as such. But once again, please name the right people.
Let's say I wanted to do something like this. I'd be identifying specific people that I could specifically quote.
That'd be great.
And I'd be keeping on file documentation of my quote. Here is video of this person at this protest. And you can clearly hear him to say the thing that is up there, on the van.
Steve said, the J words, what the F was that? I didn't want on camera saying the phrase.
Yes.
I didn't want on camera me saying gas thee with the actual word for very obvious reasons that should be apparent. Think, why did I say J words as opposed to actually using the word? Think for a second.
Because what you'll get is a clip channel going and quoting that out of context, and then
use your brain part, Steve.
Now Kurt is locked in a lawsuit where he has to sue some clip channel. Here's
your brain part, Steve. Okay. Yeah.
It's just you don't want to end up getting misquoted, and there's plenty of people who would do that dishonestly. Somebody mentioned Boozy would do that. Yes, I could see him doing that.
Okay.
you don't want that. Nobody needs that shit. I had an experience myself where some guy took a bunch of quotes out of context and was trying to make me seem like I was a sexist.
Yeah.
And thankfully,
I already have enough plant trouble with clip channels for things I do say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's
Our mobile billboards will be at Harvard for the foreseeable future, says Accuracy in Media, also saying it never violates any laws.
you're gonna find out. You're doing the F around part.
Yeah. Photos of the truck have been shared on social media, but have also blocked the students. The vehicles also displayed the website Harvard Hates the J Word People, which led to a form that encouraged users to send an email to members of the Harvard Board of Trustees, tell them to take actions against these despicable, hateful students. It offers a pre-written message.
Specifically upping their damages on this. Like, it's not just we're spreading, whatever about them, but we are specifically encouraging, reprisals.
Yeah. Apparently sending a member to the board of supervisors or overseers or whatever they call themselves. The message reads, as an overseer at Harvard, you have a moral obligation to stand against anti-Semites on campus who issue these statements and urges them to expel the students and kick the organizations. Well, I will take note, of course, that Harvard is a private entity, so their ability to do so would be more rooted in contract law than First Amendment. So to be able to determine whether Harvard can do this, you'd want to consult, for example, their student handbook and other things that could be viewed as contractual warrants as it relates to their ability to do this. So Harvard may have constricted their ability to do it, but whatever. The truck has drawn fierce criticism from Harvard professor who condemned the letter, but seemed to think the trunk went too far. Yeah. Publishing a list of students and personal information. Oh, so does it include more than just their names? If it includes other personal information, then you were into additional torts, such as,
I've heard it might
invasion
include
of privacy,
things like your address and so forth.
That's great. Invasion of privacy and other things. That's great. So I had to hire security and all the rest of it.
Yep. They were encouraging violence against me based on statements I never made. Because, I think that there's a pretty strong implication there. So, yeah.
The person responsible for this and soon to be named as a defendant said, anti-Semites who sign anti-Semitic proclamation shouldn't be surprised when people don't like what they said. Yeah, but did they say it though? Exactly, is the problem. Saying, quote, if they're ashamed of what they've done, they should apologize and we'll take their name down. That could be viewed as blackmail. That's
extortion.
Potential extortion. If they're proud, they should thank us for amplifying their message. Okay. Well, at least they're not hiding who they are. It does say accuracy in media right at the bottom of the thing, so they're not hiding who's responsible for the message. So, if there hasn't already been a TRO filed in some court somewhere, I'd be amazed. Bill Ackman, a Harvard grad and hedge fund manager with $3.5 billion net worth, was quick to call on his alma mater to release a list of members. I've been asked by a number of CEOs if Harvard would have released a list of members of each of the Harvard organizations that issued the letter assigning sole responsibility of Hamas's heinous attacks to Israel, so as to assure any of us none inadvertently hire any of their members. Which, fair enough. And they could just incidentally ask. And if they lie, then, that's they could do their own due diligence. But obviously they can hire someone or not for any reason they want. They're a private entity. So they don't want to hire those people. That's their prerogative. And you also see people trying to, trying to backslide off of it as, all the rest.
Oh, this is a mess. people just treating each other badly at the end of the day.
One should not be able to hide behind a corporate shield, which I suppose in this sense they mean the student organizations. So I'm not really sure if corporate shield is the right turn of phrase, but whatever. When issuing statements supporting actions of terrorists, which as we've now learned includes beheading babies among other inconceivable, despicable acts. Yeah, there's no shortage of reasons to condemn Hamas and the people who engaged in these actions, especially from my viewpoint. I have no problem condemning Hamas for these actions and just condemning Hamas generally for that matter. And also basically I'm in the let's kill them, let's kill everyone who supported it, and then let's kill everyone who's happy about it sort of disposition of the thing. But that's me. And to the extent that these people are saying these things, then yeah, they should be outed as the horrible, horrible people that they are, because yeah. At least 4 websites that had listed personal information of students linked to the clubs. So that's great. So personal information is continuing to be deployed. Personally identifiable information includes apparently full names, graduating years, past employment, social media profile, and hometowns.
Oh.
So that's great. Harvard's executive vice president also released a statement notifying staff and students that the police department is up security. So Harvard might have a basis for a cause of action as well, because we had to exert additional security because of the threats that you were basically stirring up. So there's probably some sort of recklessness in there somewhere. Representatives for Harvard didn't respond to comments and requests for this. A dozen business executives have endorsed the call not to hire these groups, which that's fine by me. In a wake of backlash from the business, a flurry of Harvard students desperately tried to walk back their support, which I think is interesting. We'll definitely take a look at that article. Accuracy in media has been updating a rolling list of Harvard student organizations and its members who continue to support the letter and its inflammatory claims, which they say is independently confirmed, though they unclear how. They better hope. They better hope it's really independently confirmed.
Yeah.
34 groups signed the letter, though 5 of them have officially renounced their affiliation at this point. Amnesty International of Harvard, Harvard College Act on a Dream, Harvard Undergraduate Nepali Student Association, Harvard Islamic Society, and Harvard Undergraduate Gun Guru all withdrew their supports, apparently, according to the Harvard's newspaper. Danielle Macklin, a Harvard law student who sits on the board of a group that co-signed the letter, said she resigned due to the egregious nature of the statements. So she never supported them in the first place. Her name's been plastered around. Harvard law student over here, Danielle is going to have some fun. And there's a list of all the groups that signed the letter initially. And
I mean, that's the thing, is there's going to be some people who will have left these groups specifically over this. And I think that they're going to have a great cause of action. Those, going like, I never supported this. The instant I heard about it, I got out of this group. And now I'm being painted as if I did support it. You got to be real careful.
Harvard students, for their part, also trying to scramble to take back all this support, which is just kind of hilarious. Oh, there's consequences to my actions. Oh, no. I think that's pretty hilarious, personally. 4 of the initial groups have attempted to distance themselves from it. 17 student groups joined around 500 faculty and staff and 3,000 others in signing a counter statement. Attacking the other group's letter is completely wrong, so we have statements flying back and forth. A third letter from nearly 160 members also ripped Harvard's response, ranking it can be seen as nothing less than condemning mass murder civilians. So we got all kinds of letters floating around Harvard. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Danielle, who's resigned as a board member, says, I'm sorry for the pain it caused. My organization did not have a formal process. I didn't even see this statement until we'd signed on. Well, if you agreed to sign on to a statement you didn't even see, then you're just even more an idiot, especially as a law student.
Well,
you signed on to a statement without reading it?
It may be that she didn't specifically agree to it. She's just heard, hey, we signed this statement. She's like, we did what? I mean, that happens in these kinds of groups, right? Where they do something and you find out about it after it's already a thing that's happened. So I don't know. I mean, it'll really depend on each specific person, right? But
law student Marini Tangri also tweeted that many members have no say in whether organizations sign the letter. Yep.
which is true.
Yep. Harvard gun guru has formally apologized, denounces and condemns the massacre propagated by Hamas. We truly apologize for the insensitivity of the statements. You better.
Mm-hmm.
So all that's happening. And so we have all these joint statements by various groups, blah, 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 blah. Millions of Palestinians in Gaza have been forced to live in an open air prison. Give me a break. So a bunch of people are going to be suing a whole bunch of other people. And so that's basically the end of that story. It'll be lawsuits for years. The people who drive the truck better have some really deep pockets. They're all going to be in depositions for years.
And it's Trenton was saying that they pulled the names from the list of people who renounced the list. The problem is that just having those names on in the first place without having done proper checking is going to be a problem.
Yep.
So
Julie says we need to be willing to listen to others or we're all screwed. Well, it depends what you mean by listen to. And I think this is an interesting point worthy of mention. Like some people mean when they say that you're not listening, what they really mean is that you're not agreeing. And those two things should not be conflated. Like, because I can listen, understand, and disagree with you all at the same time, at least in principle. So like, it depends what do you mean by listen. By listen, do you mean that I listen to them? Do you actually mean that I listen to them, or do you mean I agree with them? Because I'll listen to them all they want. It may or may not change my opinion. So you seem to be of the opinion, or seem to be implying rather, that my opinion suggests that I haven't been listening. And that isn't necessarily true. I've just drawn conclusions. So the conclusion, yeah. What do you mean exactly by listen? You know?
yeah, I mean it's tough. This is not something that people are like, what's your solution? I'm like, I don't have a solution. God damn, how am I supposed to solve something like this? But yeah.
I have a bug on my wall. It's being very annoying. Yeah, well, my solutions. Yeah. My solutions are Israel kicks ass. And the United States supports them, which I take a more active, some people have called me neocon in the past, which I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I definitely am, I'm not allergic to U.S. Intervention. And I support the U.S.'s current stance in Ukraine, for example. And I certainly support even more aggressive participation when it comes to Israel, because Israel is one of the U.S.'s key long-term allies. So as far as I'm concerned, we can take even more aggressive action if Israel wants it. But that's what I think.
I think it's a lot more complicated than that, but is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough for now. I think we can sign off after 3 hours, so you can enjoy your wings. So, Ian, you want to talk about anything you got coming up?
I had a video that I was supposed to post today that I forgot to. I just completely blanked on it, so I'm going to post it tomorrow, because if I post it now, it will get ignored. I need to get a video out for Roll of Law as well, and just getting ready for Monday. So Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's still a video that I haven't yet gotten out that I want to about the 3 dead lawyers. I'm trying to run down another case about a massive heist. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on the go, but yeah.
MJ Mean says, since Hamas is not a state military, does that mean they're not protected by Geneva? That's exactly what that means. Yeah, they're not a state entity, so they'd be treated as a terrorist organization. So they're not under standard rules of war.
Yeah, I mean, there are still civilian issues, but it's complicated. I think Hamas is bad for everybody ultimately, because Hamas is not going to help. Even like the ordinary Palestinian is going to be severely hurt by what Hamas is doing. And I mean, quite frankly, it puts them into the category. What's the old language they used to use to describe pirates?
Hostus
Like,
Humani Generis.
yeah, like enemies of all mankind.
Yeah, Hostus Humani Generis, the enemies of all mankind.
I feel like that is a fair description of people who perpetuate this kind of horror, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it should almost just be legal to hunt them for sport, kind of thing, right? But
well, that's where the phrase came from. Universal enemies. That's where the phrase came from. The Romans invented it, as the Romans invented so many things. Like, because it's not happening within our territory. So what do? It's like, oh, they're universal enemies. We have a right to prosecute them. In this sense, we mean militarily. In this sense, we mean shoot them. In that sense of prosecute, we have a right to prosecute them wherever they can be found.
It used to be that it was fully legal to just outfit a ship and go hunt some pirates. And if you recovered treasure from those pirates, you would be entitled to a portion of it. You know, like
that may still be the law, actually, when it comes to salvage on such things. That might actually still be the law.
So, I mean, it was just like if you wanted to just outfit a ship with guns and, you know, provisions, and they literally had pirate hunters. Like that was just that was a thing. And
the Roman Empire gets a nod, and I'm just always so happy that we just fell into the meme of how often do men think about the Roman Empire? At least once this stream. There you go.
But like you know, that was considered, you know, encouraged. And it wasn't privateers, because privateers were private pirates. I mean, like private policing of pirates. And by policing, I mean just straight up kill everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we mean it in a much more. We mean executors of justice in the original sense of the phrase executor of justice. Like execution with the sword, kind of executor of justice. Yeah. Old school, carnal, brutal.
So, I mean, it's those are the kind of actions that I think take you completely outside of like rational society. But
yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
But I mean, I apply that to like Hamas. I don't apply that to the civilians, right? The people who are just
oh sure, I'm happy to distinguish. I'm happy to distinguish people who take up arms against those who don't. Although I'll note that the Hamas is less doing that because they have a tendency of keeping their military assets in and near civilian assets.
And the problem is that a lot of the civilians don't necessarily have a whole lot of choice in that too. You'll get people who are homeowners who are like, you know, Hamas shows up with 40 guys with guns saying, hey, we're going to set up a radio station or like, you know, watching post or some shit in your house. And your options are either okay or they shoot you and then they do it anyway. So, I mean, if that's the choice you're making, then
you know, it's not the fault of the civilians, but I am certainly
it makes it really difficult to you know,
I want to minimize casualties, but when Hamas is going out of their way not to prevent that from happening, that's Hamas's fault at that point. It's like You can't just shield yourself behind civilians and be like, oh, you can't attack me back. That's dumb.
It's not ideal, certainly. Like it's and in some ways, we kind of expect the stronger force to be the like to be the more reasonable person, even to the extent that it hurts. Like people say, why is Israel held to a higher standard? It's like, well, because we actually think better of Israel than we do of Hamas. Like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't have solutions. All I have is things that make me unhappy.
Go old school. Get the Vikings out here and just go and just.
I've seen Niklaus. I don't think he's up to it.
Fair enough.
It's but I mean, like my dad was off meeting people, meeting family members that he never knew he had in Israel, and
I'm glad your dad's back safe, by the way.
Yeah, he made it out. He's he's safely clear of all that, and I'll tell you, like if it had been a reasonable option, like I would have been like, okay, let's go get him. I think Canada is like deciding what they want to do, and in like 2 or 3 weeks they'll have some sort of evac plans. But yeah.
If the United States doesn't immediately task paramilitary to go in there and kick ass, at least as far as rescuing our own citizens, I'm going to be a little salty about it.
Well, the U.S. Did put out like terrorism rescue groups or kidnap rescue groups, and like these are special forces whose entire job is find hostage situations, kill everyone who isn't a hostage, and
let's get those guys. This sounds good. Let's get them.
Well, and they've like Biden said, he said like these are an option on the table, so Hamas you might want to consider, because otherwise we're starting we're looking at sending in our
I would have deployed them already. Fuck it.
I mean, they're giving them a chance because there's always a risk that like a hostage gets killed or whatever else. But I mean, I would be very unsurprised if we hear that it's like, oh yeah, the U.S. has recovered 40 hostages today in a series of targeted strikes. Like that would not surprise me at all. And it'd just be like, yep, there's a bunch of dead people, because that's what U.S. Special Forces are really good at. So, yeah.
Well, we can sign off for now. This has been way too intensive, and not necessarily the keeping of Thursday night bar review. We're supposed to be more frivolity, but we'll sign off. It's been fun.
More scotch, less. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I've been on Civil Law. My guest has been Runkle the Bailey. We'll probably be on tomorrow. With Friday Night Frenzy. I may or may not be there. If I'm there, I'll probably be late. Because I think I'm going to go out tomorrow, and so I might be late to the thing if I come. But we'll see. That'll be fun. Check out Rob's channel tomorrow and all that stuff. I've been on Civil Law. Until later, my friends. Hope all's well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.